After failing to find Li Shu, Iron Man went straight to where the Hulk was. If no one is seen, the voice will come first. An astonishing rumbling sounded from where the battle was. The ground and buildings seemed to be shaking. Iron Man came to the skies above the battle. I saw two mountain-like monsters fighting. That is the fist to the flesh. The strange force is terrifying. Easily smash through the walls of a building, crack the ground, overturn a car, or crush into a discus. The smoke and dust were everywhere, the sound was like thunder, and the battle was astonishing. Fortunately, the military personnel evacuated personnel, and there are basically not many people in this area. But Rao is like this, and there have been a lot of casualties before. Iron Man was looking down at the Hulk's battle with the abomination, and he took a breath. The strength of the two guys is too terrifying. Tearing down a house is like tearing foam, and steel and cement are not enough to watch. Jarvis reminded again in Iron Man's ear. Sir, Nick Fury said, please don't intervene in the battle between the two guys, and you must wait until the battle is over to win the Hulk. Iron Man. Intervention? Is this a battle that you can intervene at will if you want to intervene? Maybe this Jarvis misunderstood him, thinking that he is the kind of person who will kill. He watched the two immortals fight, his teeth hurt, they were too strong. Even if he was wearing a steel battlesuit, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand a few slaps by these two monsters. The corner of his mouth twitched and said, even if I want to participate, the two big brothers below will not be willing, and the steel battlesuit on me will not be willing. Iron Man frowned slightly. It seems that I have to develop a set of large-scale power mechas to fight against this arrogant man, but it is impossible to stop this guy. We have no way to check and balance them now. Their hidden dangers are too great, like bombs that explode at any time. Speaking of this, Iron Man's face had a worried look for the first time. Iron Man looked at the battle below and had a headache. How should this end? The other side. Inside the command room of the shield building. Black Braised Egg is also closely following the battle on the front line. On the big screen, the two monsters fought so heartily that they were shaking. Hey Lu Dan licked his lips. If we can bring the Hulk under his command, then our strength will increase greatly. The assistant had a slight headache and said, but this guy lost his mind as soon as he transformed into a double-edged sword. Black Braised Egg sneered. It is impossible to use power without paying a price. If we want to fight against those powerful extraterrestrial existences, we must gather all the forces that can be gathered. Black Braised Egg eagerly watched the battle in the video, his eyes were slightly hot. If we can accept it, this will be the most powerful weapon in our hands, no one can compare. Definitely, he said in his heart, except for Captain Fantastic. Just when Iron Man was watching the battle, the mutation happened suddenly. The army fired a cannonball against the battlefield and hit the Hulk, causing the Hulk to roar in pain. He exploded further. He tried to attack the army, but was stopped by hatred. So the two started a more intense battle. Boom boom boom. Walls were shattered. The two began to fight frantically while flying, and the battle site quickly shifted to the original place. All the cars on the road were overturned. The two guys were constantly bombarded by each other into the building in the earth. The two quickly rushed to the area where a large number of humans gathered. Seeing this, Iron Man and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s expressions changed, extremely ugly. In the face of these two terrifying guys, they have no means of checks and balances at all. The military's artillery chariot went up to deliver food. Iron Man gritted his teeth, damn it, boom. The Hulk threw out a punch, sending his hatred flying. The speed was astonishing, like a terrifying cannonball falling toward the block next door. Blazed towards a fried chicken shop. With the weight of hatred and speed, the destructive power is still extremely terrifying, and the storefronts and humans around the fried chicken shop will be wiped out. See this scene. Everyone's faces changed drastically. This time, that group of people is over. When everyone in the fried chicken shop saw the monster flying at such a high speed, it was too late to run. Everyone was filled with despair. A burst of screams pierced the sky. Even if Iron Man wanted to go down and save people, it was too late. It's too far after all. Suddenly, Iron Man saw a familiar figure in front of the fried chicken shop. The image is enlarged. In an instant, the white spider suit appeared in his eyes. It's that guy whose body breaks through supersonic speed. The kid who ran away when he saw him. Since he is there, he can save people. Iron Man shouted in a thunderous voice, supersonic speed, save people, run away. The eyes of the outside world all fell on the man in the white spider suit. This person is still carrying freshly baked, steaming fried chicken in his hand, looking like a passing cosplay player, an ordinary person full of life. It's just that this person is completely different from the panicked people around him. He looked at the flying big guy, didn't scream, didn't run away. Instead, he stood there, raised his hand, and aimed at the flying green monster. See this scene. Everyone's eyes widened with fear. There was a roar and a roar in my heart. What is this guy thinking? This person wants to catch the huge monster of high-speed movement with his bare hands? Iron Man saw this, his eyes were slightly bloodshot, and he almost split. Damn. What is this guy thinking? Why didn't he run away? Did he think the other party was just an ordinary mutant? Iron Man's entire body trembled slightly as he saw that the only chance for those people to escape was gone. Iron Man and the black marinated egg have just seen the abhorrence of the fight, and they know the horror of this thing, and the house will collapse if it touches the ground. How can humans stop it? Shouldn't this be fried directly into mashed meat? Even ordinary people who haven't seen the hateful battle know that the power of such a large monster under the high-speed movement is terrifying. Done. An idea in everyone's mind. Boom boom boom. The hatred burst into countless air and flew towards Li Shu. Finally hit Li Shu's palm. It's just that the scene of bursting into mashed meat did not appear. The opposite of hatred seems to have hit an invisible thick wall, unable to progress. Just like that, it stopped in the area of Li Shu's palm. And Li Shu's arm didn't even bend, as if he was not catching a mountain of monsters, but a small volleyball. An uproar shocked the audience. When everyone saw this scene, their pupils shrank like needles. Everyone felt that the inside of their heads suddenly exploded, and their cognition was severely impacted. How can that be? How could a guy with fried chicken catch such a huge monster so easily? This scene is especially like a passerby who just went home after buying vegetables, suddenly shot at the big devil who was raging, and then the devil was gone. It's this strong sense of separation. When everyone saw this scene, they were all in disbelief, and they felt that the worldview seemed to be shattered. Suddenly, an idea popped into someone's mind. Maybe, this monster is not as heavy as imagined? As if in response to their thoughts, boom. The concrete floor beneath Li Shu's feet suddenly burst open, turning into countless huge amounts of cracks and rushing towards all directions. This means that the impact just now exists, and it is extremely terrifying. This guy can catch each other, just because he is too strong. My God. Who is this guy? Why is it so scary? It's amazing. Is this really human? How did he endure such inhuman power without any damage? Horrible. The other side. The people in the gold shop have just been escorted out. Just saw this scene. Everyone's eyes popped out. They know each other is great, but I never imagined that it could reach this level. This is no longer awesome, but scary. Especially the gangster who was just caught. Everyone was shocked. Is this the guy they just met? This is not just indestructible, it is beyond the scope of ordinary superhero, it is already a completely non-human existence. Monster. At the same time, they were extremely fortunate that they were very obedient just now and didn't mess around. Otherwise, with this terrifying force, if you gently touch it and wipe it, it cannot be directly paralyzed. They all looked at the companion who passed out and couldn't stop bleeding from the corners of his mouth. All of them were terrified. When they saw the fried chicken in Li Shu's hands, one by one they froze for a while. Nima even took their 100 yuan to buy fried chicken. This guy really doesn't play cards according to the routine. Iron Man saw this scene, his head roared, and a coolness rushed to the back of his head. Is this guy so scary? Catch an abomination so easily. This guy, who he thought would run away when he saw him, was even more terrifying than the two monsters Hate and the Hulk. And it's pure physical power. How is it possible for a human being to have the power to surpass the two monsters, the Hulk and the Abomination? Just when Iron Man was stunned, he saw the strange guy, looked at him, and asked aloud in a thunderous voice. What did you just say? I didn't hear it clearly. Iron Man looked at the hand that easily caught the Hate. At this moment, Iron Man was silent and autistic. It turns out that Joker is me. Li Shu really didn't hear it just now. His super hearing has just been acquired, and he is still immature, and he cannot automatically identify the sounds he wants to hear. Especially the screams from everyone around him just now. Because of his powerful hearing, these sounds were amplified infinitely, directly covering up other sounds. He was almost stunned by the sudden large number of dolphin sounds. The owner of the fried chicken shop thought it was over. Unexpectedly, the guy who claimed to be Koser took action and easily caught the flying guy, allowing him to avoid the tragedy of tragic death. He looked at the other person's back in disbelief and swallowed. He never imagined that the young man who had just joked with him had such terrifying power. He remembered that he had just said that he also liked to dream of superhero when he was young. It turned out that the other party turned out to be a superhuman, and it seemed that it was extremely powerful. Who would have thought that a young man who speaks so kindly and full of earthly spirit would possess shocking power? Most importantly, the other party also looked extremely low-key. The young couple who said Li Shu just now looked at Li Shu with a pale face. They never thought that this guy who bought fried chicken on the side of the road actually had a terrifying power that surpassed ordinary people. After all, in their ideas, superhero is very distant, giving people a bright moon in the water. At least that's how it was when he was wearing a combat uniform. Where did they see a superhero wearing a combat uniform to buy roadside fried chicken? When I thought that they had just said a few words to each other, the two of them were scared to death, and they were fighting with each other, and they almost felt like they were about to cry. Everyone was completely shocked. The eyes of the black marinated egg also became extremely hot. My God! Who is this guy? We Shield must get him. Just get him. That Li Shu or something, don't worry. The mere 5 Captain America guys are nothing compared to this guy. His hands were shaking. Li Shu calmly looked at the hatred that flew into his hands. Under the powerful suction of the spider ability, the hatred did not fall. This guy, he remembered that the official limit force tonnage was set at about 100 tons, and it seemed to be 80 tons. Now look, it is indeed so. Compared to his 300 tons of power, hatred is really not enough. With a slight toss, Li Shu threw the hatred out and threw it on the ground. Boom. Directly smashed the road out of a big hole. The ground trembled slightly. This terrifying weight made the hearts of those around him tremble slightly. When General Ross of the helicopter army saw this scene, his eyes were also extremely hot. After all, this guy is madly obsessed with super soldier plans and superhuman powers, and uses his power to plan these powers by any means. Capturing the Hulk and causing a lot of accidents is his masterpiece. Ross said with fiery eyes, "This person, we also want to get." Hold head high. Disgust got up and glared at Li Shu. Immediately, it burst out, like a giant bomb hitting Li Shu. Li Shu sighed and shouted, "Is there anyone else who wants to serve it together? I quickly cleaned up and went home, or the fried chicken will get cold after a while." He actually said these words to Ross in the helicopter and the Hulk in another street. Because he knew the two guys were restless, Li Shu put the fried chicken on the boss's table, seemingly unhurried. The boss was trembling, not because he was afraid of Li Shu, but because he was rushing towards him with hatred. The boss's voice trembled, it's coming. Seeing Li Shu, who was not in a hurry, the boss was frightened to death. He was about to cry. How could you be so calm? Li Shu chuckled lightly. The laughter has not yet fallen. Boom. Li Shu shot out, bursting a big hole in situ. He instantly rushed to the body of Hatred, teleporting repeatedly. Hatred looked at Li Shu, who suddenly rushed towards him. Fear appeared on his hideous face for the first time. Li Shu punched. A punch hits Abomination. Boom. An extremely violent force erupted. Hate feels unimaginable pain in an instant. The whole body seems to be torn to pieces by that terrifying force. A terrifying scream rang out. Boom. Abomination shoots into the earth. A deep hole appeared. Li Shu rushed in with a bang, and then brought out his hatred, and he was on the ground. Just now, the monster that was wanton destruction in the city is now covered in blood and unconscious. Abomination, defeated with one punch, and it was a complete defeat. A guy who has always been alive and kicking, and is in excellent condition for such a high intensity and long-term confrontation with the Hulk. As a result, he fell unconscious with a punch from that guy. This is beyond everyone's imagination. What kind of terrifying power is needed to cause such terrifying damage? The military department, S.H.I.E.L.D., Iron Man and others saw this scene, and their pupils were shaking violently. With one punch, they solved such a terrifying monster that made their scalps numb and were simply invincible. Everyone felt a little bit of fear when they saw Li Shu getting the figure. Even Ross. The guy in the white suit completely exceeded his expectations. He has to think about it now, whether or not to issue a capture plan for this guy. Just at this time, from an armored vehicle, a rocket flew towards Li Shu. It wasn't Ross's order, but the other party saw that Abomination was beaten, and then shot. After all, Hatred is a special mutiny under Ross's, who belongs to Ross. But now it's a little out of control. When Ross saw this, his pupils shrank suddenly, realizing it was not good, and hurriedly yelled at the communicator in his hand, "No, stop." Li Shu's spider telepathy started instantly. He looked over and smiled, only a little cold. He raised his hand and stretched out an index finger. Seeing this scene, the rest of the people were slightly taken aback. I was a little confused about Li Shu's action. This guy doesn't want to use his fingers to take this cannonball, right? Can human flesh and blood resist military shells? Cannonballs of that strength are extremely powerful. How can humans withstand monsters like the Hulk? In fact, they thought too much, and Li Shu didn't plan to endure it with his body at all. Although his body has gone through the fortification of extremis and super defense to an astonishing level, this cannonball can't break the defense at all. But the cobweb battlesuit on him can be broken. This battlesuit can defend against ordinary bullets, but this kind of shells will not work. A trace of cold air emerged from the tip of Li Shu's finger. Next moment. Boom. The power of ice, as majestic as Wang Yang's tide, erupted from Li Shu. Start with his fingers. A large amount of ice condensed and quickly extended out, like a giant long sword pierced out. The giant ice sword instantly hit the cannonball. A blast. Ice cubes splattered. Whoosh. In the flames of the explosion, the giant ice sword rushed out and stabbed the armored vehicle. For a moment, the super long sword extended from Li Shu's fingers pierced the armored car. The long sword, condensed by ice several hundred meters long, was spectacular and full of deterrence, which shocked everyone present. On the helicopter, Rose's pupils shrank suddenly, and the microphone in his hand fell. Inside the command room of S.H.I.E.L.D., suddenly there was silence. Iron Man in the sky looked like he was frightened. Shet. On the ground, people looked at the magnificent and majestic long sword, and all held Roar's breath. The place was silent. Li Shu's move is amazing. Condensed ice several hundred meters long, and pierced the armored vehicle in the distance. This operation is like a god. Boom. The armored car exploded. This sound was like a fuse, and the audience instantly exploded. My god. Is this really something a human can do? This sword is too huge. I feel so small. This is too powerful. It's amazing, this power. Li Shu looked at General Ross in the helicopter in the sky. He said quietly, "Are you still coming?" General Ross looked at Li Shu below and gritted his teeth slightly. If it is, he will never give up. But seeing Li Shu's terrifying strength, it really made him shy, and he didn't dare to act rashly. He could only give an order: don't shoot at that man. At this time, roar! With a thunderous roar, a huge green figure fell from the sky and smashed next to Li Shu. The earth is shaking. That's the Hulk. To be precise, now Hulk. It growled at Li Shu, only to fall on Abomination out of the corner of the eye. Seeing the horrific appearance of hatred, Hulk's heart skipped a beat for an instant, and his incomparably powerful roar suddenly stopped. It is a typical interrupted spellcasting. It instantly noticed the huge ice sword in front of Li Shu's fingers. In an instant, his heart skipped a beat, and his leaning forward body slowly retracted. Li Shu withdrew his hand. The huge ice sword fell to the ground. Boom, boom, boom. The ground was shaking, and the buildings were shaking violently. The destructive power caused by the Hulk and the others just now pales in comparison to this. Everyone on the ground couldn't help trembling. Hulk is Banner's sub-personality and belongs to the mentality of a child. Although it is easy to rage, it is not completely without fear. It's just that you don't have the strength to make it completely fear. In the future, Thanos beat Hulk violently, causing him to have an indelible psychological shadow, and he was so afraid that he couldn't hide, and it could be seen that he still had fearful thinking. The opponent who was on the same level just now was so miserable in the blink of an eye, and Hulk was a little cowardly in an instant. After just thinking for a moment, he immediately turned around and slipped away. Boom, boom, boom. It quickly disappeared from Li Shu's eyes. Li Shu has just taken back the hand that released ice, and is about to continue to work, so that Hulk will develop PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that is, the psychological shadow of terror, in advance, so that this guy will not have a long memory in the future. As a result, Li Shu's mouth twitched, but then he shook his head. The current Hulk has just been born, and his actual strength is similar to hatred, so he wants to hang and beat, more than enough. As for Hulk, the more angry, the stronger, and the power is endless. This is the setting of the ancient comics. Because it was too perverted, it was cancelled long ago. Especially the movie version of Hulk, it is a big cut, so there is no situation where he can't beat him. Li Shu took a step and returned to the fried chicken shop. There was hardly any delay, and the fried chicken seemed to be still fresh and steaming hot. Li Shu was very satisfied. He looked at the trembling boss and said with a smile, "If it's delicious, I'll give you a good review next time." The uncle boss smiled stiffly. Okay. After Li Shu finished speaking, he mentioned fried chicken and left here immediately, and soon disappeared from people's sight. It really comes like the wind and goes like the wind, leaving a shocked world, and a heart that can't be calmed down for a long time. Ross looked at the hatred on the ground and said, "One group of people will pull this guy back, and another group of people will continue to chase the Hulk. The other side. Shield's black marinated egg hurriedly said. The agent at the scene, track the guy in white for me. But soon, news came from the agent, and the person was lost. Hearing this, the whole face of the black marinated egg suddenly turned black, although it was difficult to turn black. He reprimanded. A bunch of trash. Can't keep up with anyone. He clenched his fists with a constipated expression. Damn it. At this time, the helper brought a tablet. Director, an alien object has appeared, which is a hammer of ordinary file size. We have detected a terrifying amount of radiation on its body. Most amazingly, we couldn't move him even with the crane. Hearing this, the black marinated egg frowned. Iron Man saw the Hulk run away and hurriedly followed the Hulk. After all, he has to pull the other party into the Avengers alliance. After this, the matter of Li Shu was also in the news. Although the authorities have suppressed this incident, many people still know about it. The related blurry videos and pictures let people see Li Shu's terrifying strength. Shocked countless people. It is also at this time that the network is not so developed, otherwise, things will be fermented very quickly. But in New York City, even though the authorities are suppressing news, almost everyone knows about it and is talking frantically. After all, this is what really happened in their city. As long as you take a few steps, you can see the terrifying scene left at that time, the daunting battlefield endgame. After Li Shu returned home, he started to enjoy the fried chicken, not to mention, the taste is really good, with cold cola, it is a perfect match. Li Shu ate all the fried chicken like a storm, feeling barely full. After eating, Li Shu started the finishing touches of the last simulation. With an S rank evaluation, he hasn't received the reward yet. Solidify ability, or choose 2 random rewards. The abilities he can choose now are Rejuvenation, Fate Turning, and Plant Expert. All 3 are purple abilities, and they are all very good abilities. However, Rejuvenation and Fate Turn cannot be cured. One becomes a child, and the other is luck. He has solidified a golden luck ability, so he no longer needs the corresponding ability. Therefore, the only ability he can choose to cure is Plant Expert. If a Plant Expert is cured, he will be very proficient in the way of plants in reality, and even if he obtains other precious plants in the future, he can study it. If it is not cured, this thing may not be able to be drawn next time. It's just that solidifying a purple ability feels a bit of a loss compared to the 2 random rewards. Li Shu said, System, if I get an A-level rating, are there other options besides curing ability? You can also choose a random reward. Seeing this, Li Shu nodded slightly, just as he thought. There are 2 random rewards for S-level and 1 random reward for A-level. He hurriedly continued to ask. Then if I evaluate the S rank to solidify the purple ability, wouldn't it be a bit of a loss? Isn't there any compensation? Yes, if you solidify your S-level gold, you will get a random reward as compensation. Seeing this, Li Shu grinned. That's right. Li Shu then said, I choose to cure, Plant Expert. Solid purple ability, Plant Expert. Next moment, Li Shu felt that his head was much clearer, and at the same time, the knowledge of various plants was integrated into his mind, which was vast and vast. Most importantly, this enhanced his ability to research botanicals. As long as he does botanical research, then he is quicker and more likely to succeed. Next, there are random rewards. Not knowing what to get this time, Li Shu was a little curious. Then, the text emerges. Compensate for a random reward. You get Wonder Woman's equipment, Mantra Rope, from DC World. Seeing this random reward, Li Shu's eyes instantly lit up. Good guy. I didn't expect it to be Wonder Woman's equipment, the artifact, Mantra Rope. Made from the belt of Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. As an artifact, the quality of this thing is naturally first class with an ability that is almost indestructible, even a nuclear explosion will not affect it. And it is very spiritual, can grow infinitely according to the user's will, and also has great lethality, especially dark creatures. In addition, its most famous function is to act as a lie detector, which can be used not only for single people, but also for groups, but the effect will be weakened in groups. Unexpectedly, this time I directly drew an artifact, which was not bad. Li Shu is quite satisfied. Do you want to receive it? Pick up. Li Shu said. Subsequently, a golden rope appeared out of nowhere. Li Shu grabbed it instantly. When he thought about it, the rope overflowed with golden light, and it began to grow, and then began to shorten again. As long as you like. Then he put away the mantra rope. At this moment, Li Shu couldn't help but think of the storage ring and storage bag in the previous life novel. Without these portable space gear, it does feel a little inconvenient at times. I don't know when he will be able to get a space equipment. The Marvel world seems to have almost no space equipment. If you want to get one, it is estimated that you will get a random reward next time. Li Shu thought for a moment. He focused his attention on inheriting the ability. There are 2 abilities left. Basically no choice. He has developed the ability of the motherland, so rejuvenation is only a tasteless thing to him. If you inherit, you can only inherit fate turning. Speaking of the turning point of fate, he couldn't help but think of the simulation. When awakening, he felt a woman kiss him. That woman is probably the goddess of luck in charge of luck. Goddess. Li Shu touched his chin, and he expressed that he had a bold idea. His thoughts flew around for a while, and he said, I choose to inherit fate turning. Inherit the ability, fate turning, the next simulation will definitely appear. After doing this, Li Shu took out the fairy beans and took a look. Next, look for an opportunity to make a palladium element reactor and planting equipment. After finishing these, he can start planting fairy beans. Li Shu touched the bag and smiled. After checking everything, Li Shu went to bed. The next weekend, Li Shu did not go to school. Instead, I went out to find someone. Not found, he came back to rest. Then wait for the simulation time to cool down. This time the cooldown is slightly shorter, and a new simulation can be performed only after nightfall. Simulation cooldown completed. Do you want to start a new simulation? Li Shu smiled and said, Simulation. Please choose your simulation ability. Dreamers, white. Fate turn, purple. Dragon trainer, purple. Sprinter, blue. Equipment master, purple. Recitation master, white. God rewards hard work, purple. Happy comedian, blue. Li Shu took a quick glance. The eyes lit up again. Good guy. This time, it was 3 random purples, plus the inherited 1 purple, it was 4 purples. He quickly looked at the 3 purple abilities. Dragon trainer, purple. You have the ability to tame dragons, you have a natural affinity with dragons, and you are more likely to encounter dragons. In addition, dragons are often accompanied by opportunities, and encountering dragons may trigger certain opportunities. After you tame the dragon, it will become your servant and serve you allegiance. Equipment master, purple. You have the ability to create various equipment, as long as you want, you can always play it. Your imaginative imagination is also one of your abilities. Every piece of equipment you build is a masterpiece. God rewards diligence, purple. Your extra effort makes you more favored by the heavens, and your cultivation efficiency will be higher. As for blue, there was only one that caught Li Shu's attention. That's joyful comedian, happy comedian, blue. Your life is full of drama, and the tragedy you use has won the laughter of others. When he saw this ability, Li Shu's mouth twitched and he was extremely speechless. What the hell is this ability? Use tragedy to win the laughter of others. When I hear this passage, I already feel the tragedy. The 3 abilities this time are also exceptionally good. The first, Dragon Trainer, can help him tame dragons. In the time of Marvel, there were a lot of dragons. And these dragons are very powerful. If you can tame these guys, it will help him a lot. In addition, raising a dragon is much more domineering than raising cats and dogs. A real man should have one. Maybe, if you can raise a dragon girl, it will be delicious. So this ability is also very good. The second one is Equipment Master, as the name suggests, to create equipment, but also to create various equipment. Li Shu instantly thought of his space equipment. I don't know if this ability can help him create space equipment. But since it is a purple ability, it should be very powerful. In addition, he also needs a new battlesuit, which can completely resist the kind of clothes of super high-speed flight. His cobweb battlesuit is really not good. After all, cobweb stuff can't stand high temperature. This ability will definitely help him create a new and powerful battlesuit. So this ability, Li Shu will definitely order it. The third ability, Uninterrupted Farming, is the ability to improve the efficiency of cultivation. This kind of ability doesn't need to be thought about at all, it's a must. After all, it is something to improve strength. So the only thing he needs to choose now is between Fate Turning and Dragon Trainer. After thinking about it, he finally chose Dragon Trainer. Fate Turning. The best effect is to make some extremely unlikely things happen. He has no need for this at the moment. Furthermore, things like luck seem to be easier to come out of. In just a few random times, 3 luck-like abilities appeared. And Dragon Trainer belongs to a certain ability, and the probability of occurrence will definitely be less than that of a certain category of ability. So if you miss Dragon Trainer, it may take a long time to come out randomly. In addition, most of the dragons in Marvel are accompanied by chance encounters. The Dragon Trainer can more easily encounter dragons, so it is easier to trigger adventures. Li Shu thought for a while. So he chose Dragon Trainer. Li Shu opened his mouth and said, I choose the abilities, Dragon Trainer, Equipment Master, and Unstoppable Farming. Ability selection is successful, a new simulation begins. Day 1. You understand that if you want to live better, you need to work hard and work harder. Your hard work will eventually pay off, and your cultivation efficiency will begin to improve. You started a journey of assiduous cultivation, using the pain training method to maximize the effect of cultivation. You are hardworking, and you have no time to have an affair with your children. You neglected Gwen, and Gwen was a little sad. Second day. While you are practicing extremely hard, you are thinking about what you want to build. You want to build a brand new battlesuit and a piece of space equipment. You want to create a battlesuit with shrinkable nanomaterials, and you start to frantically absorb relevant knowledge, and the progress of knowledge acquisition reaches 1%. You want to build space gear, but it's almost impossible. But you are not a person who gives up easily. Your unrestrained thinking will break the impossible boundary, and you will start to learn the knowledge of space. You understand that as long as you understand space enough, you can do whatever you want with it, and the progress of knowledge acquisition reaches 1%. In addition, you also need related materials, and if you want to build these two sets of equipment, the money you need is undoubtedly huge amounts of. You set your sights on Iron Man because you think he'll be a good toolman. Create a battle suit with shrinkable nanomaterial? Seeing this, Li Shu's eyes lit up instantly. One obvious feature of this type of battlesuit is that it is very portable. For example, the steel battlesuit of Iron Man in the later period, such a large pile of armor parts, just need to lightly disappear without a trace, and all enter the arc reactor on the chest. There is also the Black Panther battlesuit, which can be stored in a necklace. If he can build it now, his battlesuit will be much earlier than Iron Man's nano battlesuit, almost a version ahead of Iron Man. Thinking of this, Li Shu couldn't help grinning. What excites Li Shu the most is that the space equipment can actually be built. Originally, space equipment was almost impossible to create, which was the same as Li Shu's original expectation, because this type of equipment almost did not exist in this world. But in the end, his purple ability is even better, forcibly breaking the impossible boundary. I don't know if the knowledge of finally creating space equipment has stolen the knowledge of space equipment in other worlds. In the end he locked Iron Man again. Ahem, good brothers should rub more and help each other a lot, there's nothing wrong with it. Day 3. Gwen started to try to strike up a conversation with you, but you still ignored him. You tell him coldly that a woman will only affect the speed at which you draw your knife. Gwen rolled her eyes and said you were naive and said she wouldn't give up. Day 5. After this period of hard work, the effect is remarkable. Your ultimate strength has increased by 2 tons. The ultimate strength has been successfully increased to 305 tons. In addition, you are still developing the potential of your own number 5 compound super ability, hereinafter referred to as number 5 super ability. In 5 days, the ultimate strength of 2 tons was lifted. That is to say, 30 days a month, you can lift 12 tons of ultimate strength. Seeing this number, Li Shu took a slight breath of cold air. Good guy, 12 tons of extreme strength a month, this growth rate is like riding a rocket. Compared with the growth rate in the previous peak period, it has soared 3 times directly. Is this the benefit of the Motherland template? Love it. In the future, we must clean up the people of the Motherland, otherwise I am sorry for this template. 12 tons a month, 144 tons a year. Li Shu grinned, revealing a row of snow-white teeth. Day 6. You found Iron Man and told him that the palladium element was poisoned. But at this moment, Iron Man didn't realize that he was poisoned, scoffed at your words and turned away. You tell the other party that you have left your contact information to the front desk of the company. If the other party is sure, you can come to him. Day 10. You are madly absorbing knowledge about nanoparticles, and the progress of knowledge absorbing has reached 15%. You have benefited a lot, and you have a general understanding of nanoparticle technology. You are full of confidence and continue to immerse yourself in knowledge. During this time, Gwen saw that you were busy and did not disturb you, but she still gave you water and food. Day 15. After this period of hard work, your ultimate strength has been successfully increased by 4 tons, and the total ultimate strength has reached 309 tons. In addition, your flight speed has also been improved, successfully breaking through Mach 1.5 and reaching Mach 2 times. The strength has increased again, and Li Shu is very satisfied. In addition, the speed has also increased. Mach is the unit of speed of sound, 2 times Mach is 2 times supersonic speed. So he managed to increase the speed to 2 times the supersonic speed, and he was faster. Except for the top fighters, other means of transportation are basically not as fast as him. What high-speed rail, civil aviation aircraft are too slow, in his eyes as the speed of ants. Day 16. Iron Man contacted you, his voice has become much lower. He asks you if you can help him solve this problem. You said yes. He asks what you need to get. You tell him that you need a lot of money to do your own research. He promised you, and then you asked him to find the city model his dad left him. He quickly found a model of the city. You project it, and it hangs in the air, and you ask Iron Man what it's thinking, and he says it's an atom. Seeing the truth at a glance, you can't help but admire Iron Man as a real genius. You ask Jarvis to take away all the roads, landscapes, parking spaces, etc. in the model, and then use the pavilion as a frame to build neutrons and protons, and then a whole new element appears. You memorized the composition of the new element, you got the new element reactor. Iron Man is shocked, and asks why you know what his father left behind, containing the new elements of the construction map. You just find a reason to prevaricate it. Iron Man is grateful to you and will provide you with substantial funding for your research. Seeing that he successfully obtained the composition diagram of the new element, Li Shu showed a very satisfied smile on his face. As expected of him, he not only stole the blueprint of the new element, but also successfully used Iron Man's father's technical achievements to make Iron Man grateful. Li Shu smiled. Day 17. With the source of funds and materials, you are more motivated and continue to work hard to acquire relevant knowledge. 20th day. After a few days of hard training, your ultimate strength has been successfully increased by 2 tons, and the total ultimate strength has reached 311 tons. In addition, you worked hard to develop super ability. Your super perspective range exceeded 1 kilometer radius, and successfully reached 2 kilometers radius. Day 23. You are working hard to learn nanotechnology. You have a deeper understanding of nanomaterials, nanobiology, nanoelectronics, nanofabrication, nanomechanics, etc., and the progress of knowledge acquisition has reached 35%. 25th day. You met the electric man who was doing evil, and you took decisive action to capture him. You wanted to study him, but found that your research level was completely unable to replicate the process of electric man gaining ability. So you found Iron Man and asked him to help you replicate the electro-optic man's experiment. After carefully studying the electro-optic man's condition, he could only shake his head. He told you that it was impossible to replicate the electric man's ability. You have no choice but to give up. After a lesson to the electric man, you can only let him go, some regrets, and then continue to immerse yourself in your own business. Seeing this, Li Shu touched his chin in thought. He grabbed the electric man and wanted to replicate the other's ability, but he definitely didn't do it, not even asking Iron Man to help. Sure enough, wanting to replicate the abilities of mutants such as electro-optics is not something that can be done by common-sense science. The previous studies by 100% Iceman and others have shown one thing: even top scientists cannot do it if they want to reproduce the mutant ability. But he did these things forcibly because of his ability, so that both the lizard and Green Goblin were amazed at his incredible behavior. Here Diongwangren, the reason why he can't do it is not that he can't do it, but because his research is not enough, or he doesn't have the ability to do this, so he can't study. As long as there is another related research ability, he should be able to do it. He actually quite wanted the ability of the electric man. After all, the body can be elementalized, and it can be regarded as a means of life-saving. But this time it was unthinkable. Second month. As you constantly study, you have a deeper control over nanotechnology. The knowledge absorption rate reaches 70%, and you will be able to see success immediately. You are very happy. Iron Man talked to you after knowing that you were working on nanotechnology. Your terrifying knowledge reserve and unique insights into technology shocked Iron Man. He said that you will become the first person in nanotechnology. Compared with the rapid progress of nanotechnology, your attainments in space technology will be much slower, because space knowledge is more obscure and difficult to understand, and many fields are blank. You need to continue to study and develop by yourself. It is currently unknown, and the knowledge absorption rate has reached 5%, but you believe that as long as you thoroughly study it, you will definitely usher in a period of technological explosion and make rapid progress. After extremely hard training recently, you have finally increased your ultimate strength by 16 tons, and your ultimate strength has successfully reached 327 tons. In addition, the fiery degree of your thermal vision and the physical strength have been further improved, and you have become stronger. At the same time, you heard a rumor that there is a dragon at night in the Skyline Canyon not far from New York City. This makes you a little moved by the ability to train your dragon, and decided to go to the canyon to take a look in the upcoming third month. The knowledge of nanotechnology has soared to 70%, and Li Shu's eyes flashed with joy. In this way, he will be able to complete the knowledge of nanotechnology and start to build his nano battlesuit as soon as next month, at the latest next month. At that time, You don't have to worry anymore, flying too fast, resulting in the situation of flying in the air. However, the knowledge acquisition of space technology is much slower. I don't know if it is because there is almost no space equipment in this world. However, looking at the tips, you may reach a certain technical inflection point later, and you can achieve corner overtaking and learn from the rapid progress. Thinking of this, he felt a little relieved. Otherwise, he is really worried that after a simulation, the related space technology has not yet been mastered, which would be very embarrassing. What caught his eye the most was the fact that some relevant information was finally produced. According to the effect of the ability, Dragon Trainer, he will be more likely to encounter dragons, so next, it is really possible for him to see a dragon in the canyon. Thinking of this, a gleam of light flashed in Li Shu's eyes. Really have a dragon, it is really a bit comfortable. Dragon Knight or something, cool. The third month. After you have been studying nanotechnology for a long time, your knowledge acquisition progress has finally reached 100%, and you have fully mastered nanoparticle technology. You have completed the accumulation of theoretical knowledge. Next, it is time to start building your own nano battlesuit. You start out with Iron Man sourcing raw materials. When he learned that you were going to build a nano battlesuit, the whole person was stunned. After all, the current nanotechnology is very rough, let alone nano battlesuit 10. It is extremely difficult to make a nano robot. Although Iron Man knows that you are at the forefront of nanotechnology, but making nano battlesuits has already belonged to a cross era, he doesn't really believe that you can really succeed, so don't set your sights too high. You ignore Iron Man's words, and start building the nano battlesuit. The battlesuit manufacturing progress reaches 10%. In addition, you asked Iron Man to help you develop the technology related to electric vehicles. Iron Man was very angry, but he copied it. At the same time, you also know that you have reached the limit of what you can ask for Iron Man. You have gained a lot of resources, as well as a period of Iron Man's time and wisdom. If you want to get extra help in the future, you need to give him something more. You finally squeezed out a little free time and went to the one-line Sky Canyon in the Virgin Forest. The one-line Sky Canyon is very long, but with your speed and eyesight, it is only a few minutes. You have completed the exploration of this area, but found no traces of dragons. You are slightly disappointed. But you decide to wait until the evening to see if anything changes. As night fell, the canyon became silent, only the sound of insects and the occasional wolf howl, but you still did not find any trace of the dragon. Time passed, and your patience was also slowly passing. Just when you made up your mind and prepared to leave after a while, there was a sound of tearing the air in the sky, and the sky suddenly darkened. When you look up, a huge dragon is flying towards the canyon, a body as huge as a mountain, almost obscuring the sky. It really pays off. Your eyes lit up instantly. You recognized the dragon's identity, the extraordinary dragon. Fei Fei Long seemed to be looking for something, and after investigating back and forth several times, he could only let out an angry roar, shaking the world, and all the animals in the forest were trembling. Fei Fei Long was about to leave, but you stepped forward to stop him. The innate dragon affinity exuded from you prevented Fei Han Long from attacking you, but he was still very wary of you. You started to use your dragon ability to tame it, but ultimately failed, because the current extraordinary dragon is stronger than you, with nearly 400 tons of ultimate strength, and 3 times the Mach. You failed to tame it, but it did not fail completely. Fei Fei Long told you that as long as you help it find the person who stole the 10 precepts, as long as you help it regain the 10 precepts, it is willing to surrender to you. After this period of hard work to develop super ability, the range of your super hearing has also broken through the radius of 1 kilometer and reached a radius of 2 kilometers. As he expected, research on nanotechnology was completed this month. Even he has already started to build, and the build progress has risen to 10%. When he saw that he asked Iron Man to study electric cars, he was slightly taken aback, and a strange look appeared on his face. Because I quickly figured out why I did it. This is my plan to build an electric rim by myself in the future. To make money, this is to follow the route of the previous horse leader. After all, the subsequent profit of electric vehicles is obvious to all. Not to mention electric vehicles, it is the battery industry related to electric vehicles. Later, it also made a lot of money, and even directly created a $1 trillion company. He understands that he feels that he is too poor, so he is ready to start a business and become rich. Good guy. While he is researching high-end technologies such as nano and space, he let Iron Man study electric vehicles and related technologies, and work for his future. The ability to squeeze the toolman is indeed a very good set. He will never let go of every trace of Iron Man's value, and try his best to do it. Seeing this, Li Shu's face almost burst into laughter. Let Iron Man, a top-notch genius, to study the technology of electric cars, no wonder others will be angry. In Iron Man's view, it is somewhat insulting to him. After all, everyone else builds missiles and mechas, and then you King ask others to refit battery cars for you, but any arrogant genius will basically turn the table on the spot. It's also a shame that he saved the opponent's life, otherwise Iron Man would not be just angry, you can see him wearing a battlesuit and he will be finished without a shot at you. Li Shu smiled, as expected of him, he is the best at doing things. Li Shu continued to look, and then his eyes flashed. In that canyon, he did finally find a dragon, an extraordinary dragon. According to the information in his head, he remembered that this guy belonged to the villain, and it seemed to come from a planet called Kakarantara, who rushed out of their own planet and began to conquer other planets. It is because of such an opportunity that this guy came to Earth and became the enemy of Iron Man, constantly fighting against Iron Man. However, the back of this clan was also quite miserable. The collectors took a fancy to it, and then it became a collection of other people. In addition to other tragic experiences, the clan finally almost wiped out the clan. It belongs to the Murakami bully who entered the city to do evil, but was targeted by the city gang, and finally beat him to death. Thinking of what happened to the other party, Li Shu smiled. Then he began to think about the requirements of taming the opponent and regaining the 10 commandments. The 10 rings are 10 powerful rings with different super abilities. They are the products of the extraordinary dragon planet and were brought to Earth by it. However, when the extraordinary dragon descended to Earth, it fell into a deep sleep. During this time, Mandarin strayed into the place where Feifeilong was, learned how to use the 10 precepts, and successfully took the 10 precepts. After that, the 10 rings were always in Mandarin's hands. Therefore, if he wants to find 10 rings, he only needs to find Mandarin. In addition, the 10 commandments are also a set of very powerful weapons, and he can use them if he gets them. Conquering the extraordinary dragon and obtaining the 10 precepts can be considered as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 5th month. Through continuous experimentation and manufacturing, your nano battlesuit has made remarkable progress, from 10% to 65%. After a while, you will be able to successfully get your nano battlesuit. In addition, after a long period of study and research in space technology, you have finally completed the transformation from quantitative change to qualitative change, and you have begun to come into contact with unprecedented knowledge. Space folding technology rose to 40%. In addition, after this period of constant training, your ultimate strength has increased by 36 tons at one time. It has reached 363 tons. It is about to touch the 400-ton mark, surpassing the extraordinary dragon. You have also made a lot of progress in the development of your super ability. The flight speed has been successfully increased from Mach 2 to Mach 3. You have surpassed the speed of the top 5th generation fighter. At the same time, you also started to ask Iron Man to help you find Mandarin, but Mandarin has not yet been born and has become Iron Man's rival, so it is not an easy time to find him. Fortunately, Iron Man has S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intelligence system and social connections as support. You believe that even if the other party hides deeply, you can dig it out. In exchange, you start sharing some of your nanoparticle technology with Iron Man, and Iron Man is completely blinded by access to these new technologies. He had no idea that you had researched so far, and even wanted you to give up, which made Iron Man feel autistic for the first time. Space technology has finally achieved a technological breakthrough, and there has been a direct surge in progress, from 5% to 40%, a one-time increase of 35 percentage points. Finally, the space technology side began to enter a favorable period, and a smile appeared on Li Shu's face. In addition, looking at a trend, the nano battlesuit is estimated to be built soon. On the side of the ultimate power, it is also striding towards the 400-ton checkpoint. 400 tons are coming, is 1,000 tons still far? Li Shu's smile became even brighter when he thought of it. The speed has reached Mach 3, which is 3 times the supersonic speed, which is faster than the top 5 generation fighter jets. After all, the 5th generation machine only looks like Mach 2.8 and 2.9. Comfortable. 7th month. Your daily research and experiments, and finally the progress of the nano battlesuit has reached 100%, and you have successfully created your nano battlesuit. This nano battlesuit can withstand 10 times the supersonic load, has the defense against ordinary shells and large caliber sniper rifles, comes with air filtration and water source filtration functions, and ultrasonic cleaning functions, which can help you clean your body through ultrasonic waves, more thorough than washing with water. Nano battlesuit is finally out, you are very happy. When Iron Man sees you put on a nano battlesuit, completely shut down and continue to study the full range of electric vehicle industry chain technologies. With the help of Iron Man, you finally found a trace of Mandarin. He appeared in the outskirts of the city not long ago, where he lived in seclusion. When you got this news, you were so excited that you put on the nano battlesuit and flew to the mainland. Cal City on the other end. At your triple Mach speed, it didn't take you long to cross the entire continent to the western end of Cal City. Definitely, the reason why you can traverse the entire airspace of the US Empire without any obstacles is because your nano battlesuit later added the stealth function. Otherwise, in this no-fly zone, you will definitely attract countless airstrikes from the military. Coming to the outskirts of Cal City, you turned on the super perspective function, and compared with the pictures Iron Man gave you, you began to look for the traces of Mandarin. As one of the super metropolises, California is still quite big. It took you a lot of effort to survey the suburbs of California with your eyes. No way, your perspective radius is only 2 kilometers. After a search, you didn't find Mandarin, so you increased the scope of the survey, and you scanned the entire California suburbs. Finally, you found Mandarin in a private room in a private restaurant in California, who was meeting someone else. And the person who met Mandarin was a former disciple of Ancient One, Caecilius, the Strange One villain. However, this person has fallen into darkness, and there is darkness around his eyes. This man is looking for an opportunity to attack the Himalayas and kill his former master Ancient One magician. The two are making a deal. Mandarin handed him a box of gold bars, who gave him a parchment with a spell written on it. Caecilius said to Mandarin that as long as you keep using the power of the ring, the remnant soul in the ring will wake up, and then it will eat the master. Mandarin is best to use the power of the ring after strangling the remnant. When you hear this, you immediately understand that there are still remnants in the 10 Commandments. You didn't act rashly, because you didn't want to deal with magician for the time being. Magician's methods were too tricky. Soon, Mandarin thanked Caecilius and left with the roll of parchment. You follow Mandarin closely, you do not act rashly. After all, the power of the 10 precepts is not only powerful, but also has many functions. If you are not careful, you may overturn. You followed Mandarin out of the city, and the moment he opened the door to go home, you launched an attack. Hot vision spewed out, pierced through Mandarin's head on the spot, and killed him before he even had time to react. You stepped forward, took the 10 Commandments and the roll of parchment, disposed of the corpse, and then left the place and returned to New York City. You look at the 10 precepts in front of you, regretting that you cannot use them immediately. After all, the 10 precepts have huge energy and different functions, so they will be very easy to use. For example, one ring is called dizziness. It can make the air move quickly, creating a vortex, and it can attack and defend. The other ring is called a ghost. It can make people have the ability to cut off the connection between molecules and atoms, and make hard objects break. A ring called the ring messenger, to create dark areas. A ring of the ring spirit, to control electricity, generate electromagnetic fields, and so on. It can be said that the function is quite complete and powerful. Just like the ring finger elf, it can make you generate an electromagnetic field, so that you can hold up the plane instead of penetrating it, so that you can do things that the motherland can't do. You look at the scroll of parchment again, which is dedicated to magic, but you don't currently have magic, so you can't complete it, and you can only temporarily suspend the idea of using the 10 Commandments. But you can conquer the extraordinary dragon through the 10 precepts. It's just that the extraordinary dragon has left the first line Sky Canyon and went to the whole world to find the ring thief, and it will return in 5 months. So you have to wait 5 months for it. The nano battlesuit has finally been built. Look at the function of the nano battlesuit. Li Shu was quite greedy. It can withstand 10 times supersonic speed, which is enough for him to use it for a while until his speed exceeds Mach 10. For now, however, there is still a little distance. After all, he's only Mach 3. In addition, there is even an ultrasonic bath function, which is something. This function is very convenient in the end, and ultrasonic bathing will be much cleaner than washing with water. Then, there are basically no other functions left. Not like Iron Man, full of weapons. It's not that he can't wear it, it's just that those things are a bit gimmicky to him. After all, he was originally the strongest weapon. In addition, what he didn't expect was that there were remnants of souls in the 10 rings, and they would eat the Lord, which he didn't know. After all, although he liked Marvel more in his previous life and read a lot of Marvel movies and comics, he couldn't read all of them. After all, there are too many Marvel comics. However, this is not a big problem for him, and it is good to not use it for the time being. And as long as this baby is in his hands, it's fine. When he goes to the Himalayas to learn magic, he will be able to solve the use problem. As long as something is in your own hands, it is not a problem. If it is not in your own hands, it is a problem. Definitely, the matter of learning magic is definitely not now. After all, he has the current task now, and besides, Kamar Taj can't get in if he wants to, and it probably takes a little effort to get in. As for Caecilius, he really didn't expect to meet him in Cal City. After all, this is the werewolf who slaughtered Ancient One. Definitely, Ancient One will die, and it is mainly because she has the will to die, otherwise it may not be possible. Once the 10 precepts are in hand, The next step is to tame the extraordinary dragon, just wait another 5 months. He remembered that in addition to its super strength and supersonic flight, the extraordinary dragon could spew flammable acid mist from its mouth, releasing a sea of blazing fire. In addition, there is a more powerful telepathy ability, which can communicate with people from a distance, and shapeshift to any animal or shrink to human file size. It can be said that the extraordinary dragon is a very powerful creature. Most importantly, this thing is a dragon, and you can continue to improve your strength and become stronger. Being able to tame such a powerful creature is quite good. The only pity is that this guy is a male dragon and cannot become a dragon girl. It is estimated that if you want to become a dragon girl, it is estimated that you have to have the beautiful dragon from Dalu Ocean. The 8th month. The completion of nano research technology allows you to take more time to study space technology. This also leads to the continuous soaring of your space technology. You have a deeper understanding of space folding technology, and you start to study how to create a strong gravitational force to fold space, thereby creating space equipment. As long as you achieve this technological breakthrough, your progress will leap by leaps and bounds. The current knowledge acquisition progress has reached 50%. In addition, Iron Man's technical research on the whole industry chain of electric vehicles is also coming out, but the research progress is still a bit slow. The reason why it was so slow was because Iron Man would go out every day and get mad at Pepper. But you don't care about the speed. After all, you know that Iron Man is a genius, and even if you play and research, you can get it out faster, at least until you get space gear. You have worked hard to develop super ability and constantly improve the strength of your ability. The range of your supervision has grown by leaps and bounds, and has successfully broken through from a radius of 2 kilometers to a radius of 5 kilometers. Your super hearing has also improved by leaps and bounds, successfully breaking through from a radius of 2 kilometers to a radius of 5 kilometers. Your current super perspective and super hearing range can cover almost half of the county. This makes you very happy. In addition, by constantly familiarizing and using super hearing, your control over super hearing has gone a step further. You can adjust the sound you can hear at will. Even if there are a lot of harsh noises around, you can adjust their volume. These noises will not affect your listening to other important sounds, or even sting you. In addition, for the unimportant, you will automatically adjust the sound to ultra-low volume. You can still hear it, but the brain will automatically filter it out. If you encounter certain important sounds, your brain will respond and automatically feed the important sounds back to your mind. In addition, your physical strength and thermal vision strength goes a step further. On the other hand, it was time for Mandarin to provide Caecilius with supplies, but this time Mandarin did not come to the appointment. Caecilius found Mandarin's place, looked at the dusty room, and understood that something might have happened to Mandarin. So he used magic to investigate and found that Mandarin was indeed dead. This made Caecilius quite angry. After all, the supplier had been removed, and he could only find the next supplier, but it would undoubtedly delay him a little time. Month 11. In addition, Iron Man is horrified by your unremitting painful training every day. It is hard for him to imagine that people can survive under such intense training. You make Iron Man feel that his 3 views have collapsed again. After this period of hard training, your strength has skyrocketed, and you have successfully increased your ultimate strength by 72 tons. The total ultimate strength has successfully reached 435 tons. You have successfully broken the 400-ton mark, and you are very happy. In addition, December is coming soon. The extraordinary dragon will return, and then it is time for you to completely subdue the extraordinary dragon. After this period of frantic research and searching, you have finally found the key part of the space folded by gravity, that is, the gravitational buzzing. Onium, a rare element with a very high atomic number, is so rare that most people don't even believe its existence. After this thing is injected with energy, it can greatly change the gravitational field, and as long as specific means are used, it can generate strong gravitational force. The world's Dr. Hall and Ian Quinn have previously proposed the theory of gravity recording, spent 20 years, searched 6 continents, and finally found it in 12 mines. You have written down the location of a mine, as long as you retrieve the gravitational buzz, and then carry out relevant experiments to generate a strong and stable gravitational force, then your experiment is successful, and you can successfully manufacture space equipment. After this study, you have made great progress, and your knowledge acquisition progress has reached 80%. You head to Mount Kar in Tovenia, Eastern Europe, ready to retrieve the gravity hum. You are 1 step away from success. Li Shu is quite satisfied with seeing the rapid progress in fluoroscopy and hearing, even reaching the level of covering a county-level unit. After all, he still feels a little small about the current super hearing and super see-through radius of 1 kilometer. After all, in a large city like New York, 1,000 meters is not too far, and it will be more painful when you want to investigate. Just like going to California to investigate by yourself in the simulation, it is quite laborious to explore a California city with a radius of 2 kilometers, that is, the old Golden City, which is a few hundred square kilometers. Extending the radius to 5 kilometers is indeed much better. I don't know when I will be able to see New York City at a glance. Li Shu slaps it, smashes its mouth. If you want to see through the new city, the radius is almost 30 kilometers. At this point, he can almost see the end at a glance. What made him more happy was actually the automatic hearing adjustment function. After all, because of his super hearing, he still suffered a little bit. Even now, he is disturbed by noise from time to time, which is very annoying. Now that the ability to control is mature, these problems will be completely eliminated, and it will make his super listening more efficient. As for Caecilius knowing Mandarin's death, Li Shu frowned slightly, wondering if it would affect him. Li Shu is not very willing to come into contact with magician at present. After all, the moves of these guys are hard to guard against, and they can even use the power of the dark dimension to make their strength break through the limit. Finally, the progress of his space equipment is almost 100%. Just get the gravity hum and study it. Li Shu wrote down the name of the mountain, Mount Kar in Tovenia, Eastern Europe. At that time, in reality, in order to obtain gravity hum to build space equipment, he will definitely have to make a trip here. 12th month. You crossed the vast ocean, entered the country of Tovenia according to the map, and flew towards the Kar mountain. You don't know, not long after you entered this country, entered the site of the ruler of this country. During your flight, you soon sensed a person flying towards you. You look at the other party, and the other party's face instantly enters your line of sight, wearing a metal armor and wrapped in a green robe. You recognize the other party, Dr. Doom. This is the fierce rival of the Fantastic Four in the Avengers Alliance. He is a very powerful supervillain who belongs to both magic and technology. He can even grow to a very top stage in the later stage. Thanos. It's just that you don't know why the other party is here. The opponent is a black necromancer who started with dark magic. Ability is even more treacherous and difficult to deal with. It is the group of people you don't want to provoke at present, so you decide to avoid the opponent. Through the powerful perspective ability and 3 times the supersonic speed, you finally entered a virgin forest and successfully got rid of the opponent. After making sure to get rid of the other party, you ran towards Kar Mountain with extreme caution. When you come to Kar Mountain, you can easily find the mine. Because this mine is currently being mined, there are simple tents outside the mine, and inside the mine, there are still miners mining. The ore they dug is the raw material for the manufacture of gravity-onium. You look around a bit and see that they're going to drive a truck to take the ingredients away, so you're followed by a truck. You easily entered the cargo box, stole a few pieces of raw ore, and flew back. Raw material ore is an extremely rare ore, and it is also a very precious thing in Tovenia, which is much more precious than gold. The theft of the raw material ore soon reached Dr. Doom's ears, causing Dr. Doom to be furious. You don't know this, but after you take the ore back, you start a gravitational experiment to find a way to stabilize the output power of the gravitational onium. The progress of knowledge acquisition has reached 95%. Soon, you're about to get your space gear out, and you're in a state of extreme excitement. In addition, you found out the reason why Dr. Doom is in Tovenia through investigation, because he killed the original lord, supported the puppet cabinet, and became the real ruler of Tovenia. The power to control the whole of Tovenia, to carry out centralized management, belonged to his slightest roar suction is the kind of law. After returning to New City, in addition to continuing to study space technology, you also found a time, took the 10 precepts, and went to the Skyline Canyon again. You saw the extraordinary dragon again, and took out the 10 precepts. After seeing the 10 commandments, the extraordinary dragon asks where you found them. You told the other party what you stole from Mandarin, and when you heard that you killed Mandarin, the thief, Fei Feilong expressed his gratitude. It expresses its willingness to accept your tameness. The extraordinary dragon voluntarily accepted the taming, and the taming process went smoothly. You quickly signed a contract with the other party and established a relationship. Since then, the other party will keep you loyal to you. If the other party betrays or murders you, then you will know, and you will also know if the other party is lying to you. The reason why it accepts your tameness is not only that you helped it complete the 10 precepts task, but also because you have an aura about it that it can't help but voluntarily surrender. Otherwise, even if someone else helped it complete the 10 precepts task, it would repay the other party in other ways at best, instead of accepting tame and signing a contract. Then you ask it if it knows about the existence of remnants in the 10 commandments. When Fei Feilong heard this, his face was stunned, saying that he had never heard of the words of a soul in the 10 commandments. By taming the contract, you know that the other party is not lying, so you don't say anything more. You finally conquered the first dragon and obtained the 10 precepts. You are very happy. This wave is a big profit for you. Definitely, if the 10 precepts completely remove the threat, then you will be happier. In addition, as you continue to develop super ability, your physical strength and thermal vision strength have been improved. In addition, you feel that your flight speed should also break through faster. As long as you exercise a little more, you will be able to break through Mach 3. This gravitational onium journey can be considered a near miss, encountering a powerful black necromancer, but fortunately there is no conflict, otherwise the situation does not know how it will develop. Gravity onium was taken to the laboratory, and the progress bar finally reached 95%, just one step away from making space equipment. Thinking of this, Li Shu was a little excited. If you have space equipment, then treasures like fairy beans, vibranium shields, vibranium daggers, and mantra ropes can be carried around, and the safety is undoubtedly much higher. It is very convenient when you need it. But even though it was a near miss this time, Li Shu also understood that his current weakness was magic, and his magic resistance was too low. There are few ways to fight some weird magic. If he can control magic, then he won't have to be so dreadful and restrained when facing magician. When he is done with this period of time, he will find an opportunity to learn magic. Definitely, the best place to learn magic is Kamar Taj in the Himalayas. After all, this is the most orthodox place for magic on Earth, and there is also the top powerhouse ancient one on Earth. The most important thing, Kamar Taj's magic is basically normal magic. As long as he doesn't kill himself and learn something like a demon, there is basically no side effect. This is much better than any other black magic. Black magic is a thing, although the effect is fast, but basically it is traded with demons and evil creatures, and the side effects are extremely large. Therefore, Li Shu basically can't do things like black magic. Learning orthodox magic and growing up step by step is the way. After learning magic, he immediately wiped out all the remnant souls on the 10 rings that would devour the user, so that he could use the many and powerful abilities of the 10 rings. Thinking of the 10 precepts abilities, Li Shu's eyes became hot. Just wait until the space equipment research is completed. Month 14. During this time, you find that studying gravity hum is more difficult than you think. Because the gravitational hum output is always unstable, this causes the folded space to collapse very quickly, eventually leading to the failure of the experiment. You start tweaking and trial and error trying to make a more stable gravitational hum output device, but it will take some time to figure it out. This last step is indeed a bit difficult. Through this period of underwater ultra-high pressure load exercise, you have made great progress, and your ultimate strength has directly increased by 36 tons. The total value of ultimate strength has reached 471 tons. Soon, you will break through the new 500 mark. You are very satisfied with the results of your training. In addition, after your continuous practice and exploration of your flight speed, you finally broke through again and successfully increased the speed from Mach 3 to Mach 4. In addition, you also found that your physical body has become extremely powerful now, which causes your roar to have unimaginable power every time you suck. As long as you want, the air from your roar is a storm, which can easily break the tree. If you add some ice power, it will be a violent cold wind, which can freeze an area in an instant, which can greatly improve the efficiency of the use of ice power. Make the power of ice more durable. When you are stronger, the cold wind from your roar will be more terrifying and the efficiency will be higher. Li Shu was happy to see that his ultimate strength reached 471 tons. In just over 14 months and just over a year, he has lifted 168 tons. He quickly broke through the 400 mark, and is about to break through the 500 mark again. In a few years, he will be able to hit the 1,000-ton mark. As expected of the potential of the top superhuman, it is indeed very superior. In addition, the speed has once again broken through, 4 times the supersonic speed. There are basically few people on Earth who can be faster than him. In addition, the strength of the flesh makes his roar suction more powerful, and a casual breath is a storm. It even prescribed how to use ice roar suction. The only problem is that the space technology gets stuck at a critical moment. Month 15. Just when you were concentrating on researching space technology, an uninvited guest came to you. This is a character you tried to avoid. His arrival instantly disrupts your plan and makes your heart sink slightly. Especially the first sentence of this person's arrival, it means that the person who comes here is not good, which makes your heart sink instantly. Ask you if you killed Mandarin. You look at the man in front of you, with dark eyes around his eyes, and his body exudes a nasty and dangerous aura. The magician who will kill the Ancient One in the future, Caecilius. You have been feeling uneasy recently, and you always feel that something bad will happen. It now appears that it is Mandarin's murder that has been exposed. Hearing the other party's question, your heart skipped half a beat, but you didn't show panic. You pretended that you didn't know Mandarin at all, and at the same time you didn't feel a little cold about the sudden intrusion of the other party. You frowned and asked who he was and what he was saying. Caecilius was expressionless, like an emotionless machine. His next words made your pupils shrink. He said that according to the magic, it was already known that you killed Mandarin with heat vision, and completely burned the body to ashes with flames and sprinkled it into the lake. The other party broke through the detailed process of your killing Mandarin in one word, which made your heart sink to the bottom of the lake in an instant. You really don't want to have a conflict with the other party at the moment, but the current situation is moving in a direction you don't want to see. You obviously moved the other party's cake, and the other party asked for guilt. The Black Necromancer is extremely aggressive in killing, and once offended the Black Necromancer, the opponent will basically eradicate the enemy. Almost instantly, you have a killing intent. Because you understand that if you fight with a creature like Magician, attacking and killing is the best method, not giving the opponent a chance to cast spells. Although you don't know if you will succeed, you know that this is the best way for you. But soon, you put away the killing intent, because your keen spider doesn't feel any threat or killing intent. In other words, the other party has no intention of killing you, or even malicious intent at present. That is to say, he came here not to ask for guilt, but to do other things. You instantly thought about the gold bars that Mandarin gave each other. Mandarin provides supplies to the other party. After Mandarin is beheaded by you, the other party has one less supply party. Therefore, you guess that the other party came to you, and it is estimated that it has something to do with the lack of materials. Since there is no hostility for the time being, you simply have a showdown. You nodded slightly, admitting that you killed Mandarin. Hearing this, the other party simply nodded and didn't say anything more. You immediately asked the other party, do you want him to take over Mandarin? Caecilius's unwavering face finally showed a wave. He didn't expect your mind to be so flexible. He then nodded and said that Mandarin provided him with the funds and other required materials, and now that Mandarin is killed, he lacks a supplier, and you need to be responsible for it. Caecilius doesn't say anything threatening, but you understand that if you refuse, the situation can be reversed in an instant. The two would not have a peaceful conversation here. After all, you have destroyed his interests. The reason why he calmly talks to you is to make up for this interest. If this interest cannot be remedied, it will be a conflict of interests in an enemy relationship. You are not sure to get rid of the opponent. After all, the opponent is a werewolf who betrayed Ancient One and then killed Ancient One. In addition, you still have very important things. You are at the keynote of space equipment, and you don't want to conflict with the other party at this juncture. It's not a big deal for you to just provide money or something, because you still have a brother Iron Man, who you rescued from Whiplash not long ago and made him better for you. So, provide funding or whatever, let Iron Man do it. If you only exchange funds for a Caecilius communication, it is not a loss for you. Also, you've been restless lately. You thought it was Caecilius, but it doesn't appear to be. And it feels more and more intense, and you don't know what's going wrong. But you understand that now is a critical stage. You can't have a little problem, you have to study the space equipment. Since Caecilius is here and wants to have an interest relationship with you, it is also a good choice to tie him to you now. You say to Caecilius that you can fund him, but you have a small requirement that he must watch over you for a while until the research is done in your hands. Caecilius asks you about how long it will take you to finish. You do the math a little and give the answer for a month or two. The other party pondered for a while, and then agreed to your request, but the premise is that you will give him all the resources he needs. You made a deal, and again, in the name of researching resources, you asked Iron Man a batch of resources to give to Caecilius, including some magic materials. You are cautious. You think that a Caecilius is not enough. You also let the extraordinary dragon transform into a human to guard you, and let the Iron Man guard you for 2 months. Gwen also noticed your recent unease, especially when she saw that you let the extraordinary dragon and Iron Man guard you for a while. She volunteered to come to the laboratory to protect you silently under the pretext of wanting to prepare your daily meals for you. She didn't say anything about her identity as Spider-Woman. Iron Man sees Gwen's feelings for you, and immediately agrees for you. After the extraordinary dragon turned into a human, he would flatter Gwen every day, as if the other party was the proprietress. This month, Iron Man has finally completed the technical design of the entire industry chain of electric vehicles, and handed it over to you. Under your strong memory, you quickly digested this complete set of technical designs. 16th month. After your constant trial and error experiments, you are getting closer and closer to a successful answer, and soon you will be able to complete the design of space equipment, and the progress of knowledge acquisition will reach 98%. It's just that, as time goes by, the uneasiness in your heart becomes stronger and stronger. You study trial and error more diligently, and want to study the space equipment as soon as possible, so as to avoid long nights. After this period of super ability development, your physical strength and thermal vision strength have gone further. In addition, the power of ice, which has never been broken through, has finally broken through, and its power is even higher. The freezing range has increased from the previous 500-meter freezing range to a 3,000-meter freezing range, and the freezing power is even better. If you could only freeze one building before, now, you will be able to wave your hand to freeze a neighborhood, an IFS, International Financial Center, a building. The breakthrough of the power of ice will surprise you. After all, although you have been developing the power of ice, there has been no obvious change. Unexpectedly, the transition of qualitative change caused by quantitative change has been completed. During this time, Iron Man and others also saw the unease in you, and they were all comforting you. Iron Man said that there is a net outside the laboratory, and the laser missiles are fully armed, and it is impossible for anyone to approach you. And the whole body of this laboratory is made of super alloy, which is extremely strong, so you don't have to worry about someone coming in. And he is a genius guarding him. No one can break a steel battlesuit, which makes you completely at ease. Fei Feilong said that it is extremely powerful, and if someone really wants to target you, it will smash the opponent on the spot. It also silently recited a sentence in its heart: it is really not good, it still has 10 precepts, as long as it adds 10 precepts, any enemy comes, it will be responsible for destroying the other party. Gwen didn't know the true identity of Fei Feilong, so she didn't know that when Fei Hanlong said that he was smashing people, it was really smashing. Gwen said that you helped her drive away the danger last time, and she will help you drive away the danger in the future. Even if the supervillains of the Lizardmen and Green Goblins come, she will not let them touch you. Root hair. The Iron Man and Fei Feilong next to him listened, and their expressions were strange. After all, if these Lizardmen are looking for you, it is not pure and innocent looking for death. Iron Man and Fei Feilong couldn't help but wonder how Gwen would react if he knew your true strength and the usual terrifying amount of training. The hidden Caecilius also expressed to you that as long as he is here, no one can hurt you. His tone is very calm, but full of undoubted charm. In this way, you have formed a pattern where Caecilius, Iron Man, Extraordinary Dragon, and Spider-Woman are 4 heavyweight players guarding you. This kind of treatment is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. You should have felt at ease when you heard a few people's words, but you didn't. Instead, the unease became stronger and stronger. You can't figure out why you still feel uneasy when such 4 heavyweight players, Magic Touch, Technology Touch, Excellent Mutants, and Dragons are all guarding you. Could someone still be able to break through the defensive formation of these 3 people and 1 dragon? You don't know. You have awakening a brand new spider ability, the spider telepathy of the precognition type, which is no longer able to predict the upcoming danger, but can also predict the danger in the future. Every spider ability, in addition to the originally basic spider ability, may awakening its own unique spider ability. The future Gwen can awakening the ability to cross the dimension. The little black spider in the parallel world can also be invisible, release energy and release toxins, and many more. You've also awakening your own spider ability, you just haven't realized it yet. Month 17. Through this period of training, your ultimate strength has increased by 36 tons again, successfully breaking the 500-ton mark and reaching the ultimate strength of 507 tons. At the same time, Gwen finally saw the amount of your training, and the whole person was stupid. Deep sea ultra high pressure load exercise, high intensity electric current to stimulate muscles, carrying hundreds of tons of iron to do high intensity exercise and so on. Gwen thought that she would protect you from now on. She always thought she had enough power to protect you, but unexpectedly, it turned out that the ants wanted to protect the elephants. Definitely, Fei Feilong and Iron Man are also horrified by the speed of your progress, which is simply unbelievable, breaking through from less than 400 tons to more than 500 tons in a short period of time. You don't know the surprise of others. All your attention is now on your research, which will be completed soon. On the last day of this month, your progress has finally reached 99%. After a day or 2 of trial and error, you will be able to complete your space equipment. It's just that Caecilius is going to leave soon. The time he promised you will come soon. He will be in a hurry to deal with his own affairs, and he can't protect you anymore. The unease in your heart has not dissipated at all, but it has become more serious. It seems that there are only 2 people and 1 dragon to protect you, and the strongest one is leaving. So that uneasiness is because these 2 people and 1 dragon are difficult to fight against. Finally, when the appointed time is up, Caecilius tells you that he will be leaving, and he draws out a golden portal. Just at this time, boom! An explosion sounded, and the entire superalloy laboratory shook violently. Caecilius in the hiding place, Iron Man, Gwen, and Extraordinary Dragon in the laboratory all shrank their pupils, and their eyes instantly looked out. In the end, it is not 2 people and 1 dragon to protect you, but 3 people and 1 dragon to protect you. Through the projection, Iron Man and others could see the scene outside. 7 or 8 robots stood in the air, and behind them was a Dr. Doom wrapped in a green robe and an iron mask. Lasers and cannonballs were fired at Dr. Doom and his Doom robot outside the laboratory, but they were easily dodged by the other party. Then the destruction robot sent out hot lasers, constantly destroying the attack equipment outside the laboratory. This violent explosion is the result of the explosion of those attacking equipment. Dr. Doom did not do it himself, but watched coldly. As if these things were not worth his effort at all. Iron Man recognized the other at a glance, although Dr. Doom had not yet reached out to the American Emperor. But Iron Man has a top-notch intelligence network, so he knows more than the average person. Seeing the other party, Iron Man frowned slightly, and he told the others to be careful. The other party was a strong big shot with both technology and magic, and the king of a country. Then I put on my battlesuit and rushed out. As Iron Man went out, Gwen and Extraordinary Dragon also rushed out. Seeing Fiefenlong going out with her, Gwen was stunned for a moment. She hurriedly asked Fiefenlong to go back. After all, she thought Fiefenlong was an ordinary person. Feihilong smiled and called Gwen a mistress, saying that he was not an extraordinary person. When Gwen heard this mistress, she felt slightly overjoyed, but the next scene of directly shattered her and Iron Man's eyes. I saw the Extraordinary Dragon rushing out of the laboratory, jumped up, and let out a roar. The whole person swelled rapidly, turned into a mountain-like dragon and rose into the sky, with eyes as big as grinding discs. Gwen and Iron Man did not expect that the other party turned out to be a dragon. The 2 of them never thought that among the 3 of them, the strongest was actually the Extraordinary Dragon. Afterwards, the 2 and 1 dragon began to fight with those robots, but no one thought that those robots were still very difficult to deal with, extremely flexible, extremely strong, and had high attack power. In the face of 2 people and 1 dragon, these robots did not lose the slightest. At this moment, Dr. Doom has not yet joined the battle, but his robot is already so powerful, which makes everyone feel a strong sense of unease. You also saw Dr. Doom outside, and your heart sank deeply in an instant. You didn't expect that it was Dr. Doom, the future Monarch Doom, who was equivalent to a combination of Strange, Iron Man, and Black Panther. The arrival of this person has made you feel more insecure, and you understand that you have to speed up the research process. No matter what happens in the future, you must quickly get the space equipment out now, otherwise you don't know if you will have a chance to continue your research later. At this time, Caecilius's voice became very cautious, and he told you that the Comer was strong, and he was not sure. You have a stronger sense of crisis. You explode your potential, research frantically by trial and error, and make the final breakthrough, breaking through the last 1%. The Feifeilong looked at Dr. Doom while fighting those robots. This person gave him a strong sense of crisis. It understands that this person is the guy most likely to threaten the master. It found the right time and spit out a sea-like acid mist at Dr. Doom. The acid mist instantly ignited, turning into a sea of fire and attacking Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom cast his magic, waved his hand, and the overwhelming blizzard flew towards the sea of fire, instantly extinguished the sea of fire, and ran towards the Extraordinary Dragon. The Extraordinary Dragon felt a strong crisis, but in the face of the blizzard, it was too late to escape. Just when it thought it was going to be attacked, a huge amount of magic light array appeared, blocking all attacks. Then Caecilius came out of the laboratory. Seeing Caecilius, Iron Man and others, they were all stunned for a moment, and immediately became extremely vigilant. After all, the image of Caecilius, but everyone will think that this is a villain. Caecilius explained that he is the one who protects you, and the fact that he just blocked the enemy's attack made Iron Man and others slightly less vigilant. Caecilius looked at Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom grinned and asked Caecilius to hand over you the thief. Caecilius just shook his head blankly. Caecilius pulled Dr. Doom into the mirror space, and the 2 began to fight. All kinds of magic erupted in the space, and the buildings in the mirror space were constantly destroyed and reshaped. Powerful magic fluctuations are constantly fluctuating in the amazing space. The battle in the mirror space, outsiders can't see it at all, they can see it, that is, the 2 suddenly disappear. Inside the mirror space, the 2 fought fiercely, and in the face of Dr. Destruction, who was a dual practitioner of magic technology, Caecilius was finally inferior. After all, Dr. Doom is the one who ripped Thanos with one hand and held the Infinity Gauntlet with one hand in the future. Soon, many scars appeared on Caecilius's body. On the other hand, Dr. Doom was wearing an incomparably hard armor, and he did not suffer any damage at all. Dr. Doom asks why Caecilius is helping you. Caecilius says where the benefit lies. Dr. Doom says he is willing to pay more for Caecilius to abandon you. Caecilius was instantly hesitation. After all, the reason why he helped you was purely for profit. Seeing this, Dr. Doom seized a flaw and attacked Caecilius ruthlessly. The original stalemate was broken in an instant. Caecilius was severely injured, and a large hole in his abdomen was bleeding. Caecilius roared that Dr. Doom was despicable, and his face was extremely hideous. Dr. Doom sneered and said something stupid. There was a flash of determination in Caecilius's eyes, and then he released the magic, and a crack appeared. He wants to communicate the dark dimension and release part of Dormammu. In an instant, a terrifying aura descended from the entire mirror space. Dr. Doom's pride instantly subsided, and he jumped and cursed Caecilius as a lunatic. Immediately, his eyes were extremely ferocious, and he gritted his teeth slightly. The advantage of the battle outside is gradually favoring Gwen, especially the extraordinary dragon. Relying on its rough skin and thick flesh, it took a few attacks from the opponent, exchanged injuries for life, and destroyed several destruction machines. However, there were also many huge wounds on its body, and bright red blood flowed out like a waterfall. As he was injured and saw blood, Fei Feilong's eyes became even more sinister, and his style of play became more arrogant. Boom! It blasted a destruction robot into the ground with one claws and exploded. Its face was hideous, and it screamed and wanted to hurt people. Never mind. Extraordinary Dragon is extremely loyal to you. These comers are not good and may hurt your fellow. It will not let one go. As long as it is there, it will never allow you to suffer any harm. Gwen and Iron Man are a little better, and have some injuries on their bodies, so they're not in good shape. Gwen clamped a robot body and hugged the other's head with both hands, with a hint of ruthlessness on his bloody face. She pushed hard. The head of the robot was cut off abruptly. Boom! The robot fell weakly to the ground in an instant. Gwen will never allow anyone to hurt you. You and your family are her scales, and she will kill anyone who wants to attack you. Gwen also fell to the ground, her blood-stained face panting heavily, and a trace of tiredness appeared in her eyes. Boom! Iron Man hit the energy cannon, blasting the last robot. The battlesuit on the body has been damaged, there are wires exposed, and some small sparks are bursting out. He also had some injuries on his body. He gritted his teeth slightly and said that these iron skeletons are really difficult to deal with. He also said that it is really a blood mold for 8 lifetimes to have a friend like you on the stall. See all the bots being disposed of. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief. Iron Man grinned and said that Iron Man always did what he said, that if you don't get close, you won't. Before he could finish speaking, he took a deep breath because of the pain on his body. Click. There was a sound of glass breaking. Instantly attracted everyone's attention. I saw that in midair the space was broken like a mirror, and then a body covered in blood fell out. Seeing the corpse, the two of them, Yilong, suddenly shrank their pupils. Because this corpse is Caecilius. Then, a guy who was also blood jumped out. It is Dr. Doom, but at the moment is also in a very bad state. The armor is in bad shape, there are wounds all over the body, and blood is constantly flowing out. Dr. Doom looked at the 2-in-1 dragon. Immediately, both of them felt their hairs explode. Even if the guy in front of him was seriously injured, it still made them feel extremely dangerous. Dr. Doom looked at the 2-in-1 dragon, and said with a smile, "How much benefit you have given to everyone. He is willing to pay 10 times the price, as long as everyone gives up on you." As soon as this word comes out, the two of them, Yilong, did not change their expressions, and looked at Dr. Destruction coldly, without saying a word, but their attitude was obvious. Where the love is, the determination is unwavering. Dr. Doom's eyes are hideous, and he asks if they all want to die. Immediately, fighting broke out. While coughing up blood, Dr. Doom froze the extraordinary dragon like a mountain with one hand of magic and smashed it to the ground, opening huge amounts of cracks in the ground. The move shocked Iron Man and Gwen, but the two of them still rushed towards Dr. Doom unswervingly, trying to stop Dr. Doom. Then Dr. Doom waved his hand, and it was a magic explosion, which blew the two of them up and vomited blood. Dr. Doom walked towards the laboratory with grim eyes, and he said coldly that he must kill you today. Iron Man got up from the ground, bleeding uncontrollably from his mouth. He walked towards Dr. Doom a little lamely, and said, "As long as he is here, Dr. Doom won't want to hurt you. This is what he promised you. He's Iron Man, and he does what he says." Dr. Doom was so angry that he punched the energy beam and pierced Iron Man's body directly. Iron Man's eyes gradually became slack, and he whispered, "This time he lost a lot and took his life." Finally died. Gwen also struggled to get up from the ground and ran towards Doctor Doom, clenching his teeth. She jumped up and wanted to kill Doctor Doom with one punch. Doctor Doom coughed up blood, and immediately raised his hand to release magic, piercing Gwen's body. Gwen fell to the ground, and before she died, she looked at where you were, with a trace of nostalgia and tenderness in her eyes, and finally lost roar. Inside, as a laboratory, your eyes are congested, and the indifference on your face is getting stronger and stronger. Boom. The huge ice block exploded, and a dragon roar shook the world. Extraordinary Dragon and Dragon Claws carry 10 rings, which can be changed according to the user's body shape. In order to stop Doctor Doom, it finally brought the 10 precepts, which would backfire on the user's 10 precepts. It roared and launched an attack towards Doctor Doom. The Extraordinary Dragon at this moment is extremely angry. Because its mistress was killed by this guy. The 3 rings on both hands burst into light. The reshaping of the ring released a large amount of poisonous gas and rushed towards the opponent. The ring spirit controls the electromagnetic field and controls the opponent's body. The ring lightning smashed out a thick and incomparable lightning, rushing towards the opponent. The powerful attack attacked Doctor Doom, wanting to kill him completely. Doctor Doom's coughing up blood became more serious. He looked at the terrifying attack of the Extraordinary Dragon, and scolded Fake fiercely. Immediately, the teleportation magic, Hazenstadt Journey, was released, and a huge light array lit up and enveloped the Beyander Dragon, which was teleported to the City of Destruction the next moment. Teleported away together, as well as the opponent's attack. Waiting for the Extraordinary Dragon, will be the City of Destruction. He has already set it up, combining the power of magic and technology to create an incredible explosive force. In place, only Dr. Destruction and the last unwilling roar of the Extraordinary Dragon were left. After doing this, Dr. Doom continued to cough up blood, as if to cough up his liver and lungs. This is the terrifying strength of Dr. Doom, dragging his severely injured body and easily killing 2 dragons and 1 person. He slowly raised his head, his eyes full of cold-killing intent and hatred. He walked slowly towards the laboratory. Every step was a bloody footprint. You are still trying to make mistakes. The research is about to be completed. Dr. Doom came in. He looked at your back, and said indifferently that you were dead. He raised his hand. The magic was brewing, and the breath of danger and terror overflowed from above. You didn't look back. Continued trial and error. Just said a word and asked the other party if they didn't want to know what you were doing? Dr. Doom was stunned for a moment, and the magic in his hand was not released immediately. He sneered. Even if he knew what you were doing, what was the use? You say space gear that can hold more stuff. Dr. Doom was shocked and couldn't believe it. He directly rejected you, because as a technological genius, he knew that this thing was basically impossible to create. He immediately sneered and said that you are just delaying time and preparing to do it. Finally, your experiment is completed, and a space bracelet is finally born. You raise your bracelet. Next moment, a cup on the table suddenly disappeared. Seeing this scene, Dr. Destruction's pupils shrank like needles, because he felt a little space fluctuation from the means. This is, you hold the space bracelet and slowly turn around, your eyes are bloodshot, and your face is indifferent. You threw the space bracelet to Dr. Doom, and Dr. Doom subconsciously caught the world treasure. You suddenly launched an attack, with astonishing hatred, and a blazing ray burst out of your eyes, directly blasting the space bracelet, and rushing straight towards Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom hurriedly dodged, and he managed to dodge the fatal attack, but his hand was completely pierced, and he let out a scream of pain. You move your gaze towards Dr. Doom, fiery thermal vision slashing towards Dr. Doom. There is only infinite indifference on your face. Dr. Doom hurriedly released magic. A magic shield blocked your attack. At the same time, a large number of demons are summoned to attack you. You took out the mantra rope, and the divine light on it rose sharply, and you waved the mantra rope and slashed at those demons. Wherever he went, it all turned into black smoke and screams. Your mantra rope restrains the dark creatures, so you slaughter the demon hordes, quickly clearing the demons. This scene makes Dr. Doom startle the roar artifact and attack you again. You fought fiercely with Dr. Doom. The superalloy laboratory was smashed by you. The ground cracked, ice spreads everywhere, fire burns, it's like hell. You also began to have injuries on your body. The wounds you suffered from special magic could not heal, and the blood was constantly flowing, but you became more and more brave, and your eyes became more and more indifferent. You trade wounds for wounds, constantly attacking Dr. Doom, and the other side scolds you as a lunatic. Dr. Doom's injuries were getting worse and he was coughing up more and more blood. In the end, you finally seized the opportunity and punched directly through the opponent's chest. Allure. Dr. Doom coughs up blood again, spattering your indifferent face. Dr. Doom laughed miserably, saying that if it wasn't for that idiot black necromancer messing around with the dark dimension, which caused him to be seriously injured, you guys wouldn't be able to kill him at all. However, he immediately smiled and said that everyone could not run away, and a generation of heroes died immediately. Click. The space in the air cracked open, and a terrifying aura emerged from it. Then a pitch-black huge tentacle stretched out and charged towards it. You are dead. Li Shu looked at the simulation with a complicated expression. Gwen eventually gave his life to protect him. All I can say is that Gwen really likes him a lot. In addition, whether it is the extraordinary dragon or the Iron Man, they are fighting to the death for him. In the face of the powerful Dr. Doom, the determination of several people to protect him has not wavered. In stark contrast to Caecilius, it seems that these people are really very affectionate. In the end, he still killed Dr. Doom. However, this is because Dr. Destruction has been seriously injured, and it is difficult to cast a lot of magic. Otherwise, it is difficult for him to kill the opponent. After all, his magic resistance is too low, but his blood is thick. But some magic is still unstoppable. It seems that the next simulation is going to learn magic to make up for this shortcoming. He who killed Dr. Doom did not escape the fate of being killed in the end. Because Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension released by Caecilius before, was not completely taken back by Dr. Doom in the end, but only temporarily delayed the time for him to break into reality. In the end, he was beheaded by Dormammu, who came to reality. Then the simulation ends. This simulation is over. The number of simulation days is 17 months, and the cooling time is 17 hours. Analog level. S. When the simulation level reaches S, you can solidify a golden level or an ability below the golden level, or randomly reward it once. Please choose to inherit an ability. The inherited ability will definitely appear in the next simulation. Save the current strength to the host. 507 tons of extreme power saved. Mach 4 flight speed. Saved. 5 km range supervision, super hearing preservation. The power of ice after the upgrade is preserved. Nano battlesuit technology and related memory preservation. Space equipment technology and related memory preservation. The complete set of electric vehicle industry chain technology memory preservation. Boom. A huge force poured into Li Shu's body. All aspects of Li Shu are climbing rapidly. The power has been directly increased from 303 tons to 507 tons. An even greater and astonishing power poured out of his body. He waved his hand gently, the sound of a strong air explosion. Li Shu showed a satisfied smile. The power of 500 tons is indeed very strong. The biological energy in the body also skyrocketed. The strength of various super abilities has also undergone qualitative changes. The flight speed has increased from Mach 1.5 to Mach 4. He is now Mach 1 faster than the strongest fighter. Super see-through and super hearing have also increased from 1 km to 5 km. He opened his eyes slightly and activated his super hearing. More transparent field of view than the original. Countless people entered his field of vision. A large number of cars entered his experiment. At the same time, various sounds penetrated into his ears. Only this time, he didn't feel any inconvenience. All sounds can be easily distinguished. Physical strength and thermal vision have also improved. Besides, the power of ice in the body also skyrocketed. The power of ice in each cell is even more magnificent. The freezing range has expanded from a few hundred meters to 3 kilometers. It used to be able to freeze a 100-story building, but now it's a piece of it. He raised his hand slightly. A wisp of ice formed in his hand. For a moment, the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly. The freezing effect is better than before. Seeing the more powerful ice power, Li Shu nodded in satisfaction. Feel the strength of the whole body more powerful. Li Shu showed a small smile. To feel stronger is to feel comfortable. At the same time, a lot of memories poured into his mind. That is the memory of a lot of nano battlesuit technology, a lot of space equipment technology. The next step is to create nano battlesuits and space equipment, and to cultivate his fairy beans. Then he looked at the simulated information. It's time to choose the ability to cure. The solidified abilities he can choose are Dragon Trainer, Equipment Master, and God Rewards Diligence. He thought for a moment. He chose to solidify the Dragon Trainer. Extraordinary Dragon is indeed a good one, very powerful and very loyal. And it can continue to develop its strength and make it stronger. When he becomes stronger, he can tame other dragons. Dalwoshan's dragons and even magic dragons, and even various dragons of Kunlun. As for Equipment Master, It takes a long time to research equipment, so it is suitable for use in simulation. After all, if you study in strength, you may have just developed a piece of equipment to enhance your strength, but his strength has already far surpassed the stage of designing equipment. Furthermore, Heaven's Way rewards diligence, also has the same effect, and it has a greater effect on simulation. The most important thing is that he still wants to inherit this ability. It will be more efficient to learn magic at that time. In addition, solidifying the purple ability means that he will get a new reward. Not sure what it would be. Li Shu was looking forward to it. Immediately, he said, I choose to solidify, Dragon Trainer. Solid purple ability, Dragon Trainer, next moment. In his mind, the relevant memories of the Dragon Trainer skills poured out. About taming skills and signing taming contracts. Besides, Li Shu also has the ability of Dragon Affinity on his body, which will increase the chance of dragon surrender. This is also a key ability he will be able to tame dragons. With curing success, new words appeared in front of Li Shu's eyes. Evaluation solidifies purple ability, compensation for a random reward. You get a rare ore gift pack. Open the gift package, you will get 1 ton of gravity onium raw material ore and 50 kilograms of vibranium. Do you want to receive it? Seeing his random reward, Li Shu's eyes lit up instantly. Good guy. It turned out to be 1 ton of raw material ore. He was still worried about where to find gravitonium raw material ore. After all, Tovinia must be temporarily impossible to go, and there is also a Dr. Doom there. But for other locations, he didn't know for the time being, and it would take a while to find them. Now directly reward the raw material ore of gravity onium, which directly saves him the work and time to search. In addition, the gravity hum extracted from 1 ton of gravity onium raw material ore is enough for him to build a space equipment with a space at least the size of a football field. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Li Shu's face. A space the size of a football field is very comfortable. There's so much to pack for him. With space equipment, he doesn't have to worry about the treasures he has acquired have no place to store them. After all, if he wants to shield or something, he can't carry it with him, so he can only keep it at home, but it is risky to put it at home. With space equipment to carry treasures with you, there will be no ideas. Now that we have raw ore, we just need to use experimental equipment and other raw materials to get things out. As for the rest of the ingredients, of course it was Iron Man. In addition to the gravitonium raw material ore, there is also 50 kilograms of vibranium in the package. 50 kilograms of vibranium is still quite a lot. If he wants to build any weapons in the future, these vibraniums are more than enough. In addition, his nano battlesuit can actually incorporate some vibranium, which can greatly improve the quality of the equipment. However, the nano battlesuit built in the simulation is enough for now, and vibranium is not used for the time being. Definitely, there's another reason that he didn't have the equipment and technology to smelt vibranium at all. After all, this thing is too tough. Li Shu has not received any rewards for now. After all, a ton of ore is not easy to put away. After curing is complete, the next step is to choose inheritance. Not much hesitation. Li Shu opened his mouth and said, I choose to inherit, the way of heaven rewards diligence. Inherit the ability, God rewards diligence, the next simulation will definitely appear. After doing this, Li Shu went to wash up and went to bed. After all, there is still a lot of work to do tomorrow. The next day, Li Shu woke up early. Take a leave of absence from school. He walked towards the Stark building. He is going to go to Stark to ask for money for shares so that he can start building various equipment, as well as equipment for planting fairy beans. As a result, I didn't expect that on the way there. I met a person who was a little familiar to someone who was completely unfamiliar. On the edge of a park ahead of him, a guy in a special leotard with a freeze gun was about to leave on a motorcycle. That direction is his side. The street behind him is the road leading to the school. Li Shu understood in an instant. This guy is frozen. After all, this guy's ability is not as perfect as the Iceman after his experiment. Now he needs equipment to maintain his body temperature, and he needs to use the freezing gun to release the power of freezing. Otherwise, at room temperature, you will die. During his simulation, the guy appeared several times. It is also the biggest contributor to his current freezing ability. After all, today just happened to be the day when Iceman went to school in the simulation. Li Shu grinned. I didn't expect him to have such a relationship with this frozen man. Since there is such a fate, I will take it to the police station for a sit. It just happened to help people get rid of the scourge, lest the school dead man. Front. Frozen got on a motorcycle and started racing on the pavement. Pedestrians on the sidewalk were forced to run away by him. When I saw Li Shu, The frozen man hurriedly roared fiercely, "Fake, courting death. Watch Lao Su turn you into ice cubes and smash you into pieces." Saying that, he picked up the freeze gun and aimed it at Li Shu. "See here." A strange expression appeared on Li Shu's face. It was him who froze others, and he hadn't been frozen by others for a long time. Definitely, the other party wants to freeze him, but the other party can't. After all, his current freezing power can be regarded as the grandfather of this half-baked man. Because of the too strong freezing power, he has a strong resistance to ice. Even if he stood there and let the other party freeze, he couldn't make frost on him. Definitely, although Li Shu isn't standing still. He burst out, grabbed the frozen man's neck directly, and the motorcycle continued to run out, eventually losing control and crashing into the flower bed. The people around were amazed when they saw this. Li Shu was too fast, beyond their imagination. "My god, this kid is so fast. I feel like he's stronger than a sprinter." Frozen man froze in place because he was caught before he could react. He also wanted to use the freeze gun. Li Shu grinned. The freezing gun was instantly frozen, and then it shattered and fell to the ground. This scene directly made frozen man stupid. How is this possible? How can something go wrong with my freeze gun? Li Shu didn't explain at all, and took him directly into the police station for a reward of 30,000 yuan. 30,000, pocket money. After all, Li Shu is now going to Iron Man to get shares and money. The other side. The bald Heather was leaving the shield building with the crossbones. On the car. Hitwell took the 300,000 card given by Pierce and said with a smile, $300,000, Li Shu, this kid, it's probably going to be a lot of fun. Crossbones also said with a smile, that's definitely a kid from an orphan who has never seen big money. When we get the money out, he will definitely join our organization. I really envy this kid, who has such a good ability and can easily get so much money. Hitwell said with a smile, yes, this kid has a good life. I have to say, this mission is really easy. Crossbones said, that's because other tasks even risk life. Where like this time, it's equivalent to taking a cut and taking a credit. The two in the car laughed. Soon, Li Shu came to a cafe. He was standing on the side of the road, and he was standing here because he knew that Stark had a habit of buying coffee here. And according to the super perspective, Iron Man is coming soon. Soon. Tony drove a supercar and came here. He got out of the car and walked to the cafe. Li Shu walked up quickly and stopped the other party. Tony pulled down his sunglasses slightly and looked at Li Shu suspiciously. He felt that the other party was both unfamiliar and familiar. He said, what are you looking for from me? Li Shu said with a smile, I came to save your life. Tony grinned, feeling the teenage boy in front of him was funny, trying to trick him into Tony Stark. He said, I don't have time to play with you. Li Shu said immediately, you have been poisoned by palladium, and if you don't find a solution, you will die soon. Immediately, Li Shu told Tony to use the palladium element reactor, and then how to cause the palladium element to enter the body, and finally cause the reaction in the body, and told Tony again. As someone who already has dual reactor knowledge, he is very knowledgeable about Tony's palladium poisoning, and can even explain its development principles. Tony didn't care at first, but he listened and he stopped. Because what he said was right. If things are really likely to develop to the other side, and the other side's expertise is in place, it's not like an ordinary person. Tony looked at Li Shu. How should I trust you? Li Shu smiled. It's very simple, you just need to do a test to check the palladium content in your blood. You should understand that palladium poisoning will cause a very painful and tragic death. Tony glanced at Li Shu, then nodded. Okay, I'll go for an examination. Immediately, Tony opened the supercar and took a smartwatch from it. He immediately had the smartwatch test him for palladium in his blood. Soon, the results came out. He has started palladium poisoning. Seeing the result, Tony was stunned. He frowned immediately. The palladium element just needs to be removed. The problem is that he needs the reactor to absorb the iron pieces in his body. Leave without reactor. And the reactor, he can now do it with palladium. Because no other element will work. This is a dilemma. Tony looked at Li Shu and said, how can you save me? Li Shu chuckled. I was able to find an element to replace palladium. Tony widened his eyes and shook his head quickly. How is it possible? I know the effects of all the elements, and no one can replace the palladium element to provide such a large amount of energy. Li Shu continued. It was a completely new element that had never been discovered before. Tony frowned. How is that possible? Li Shu smiled and said, what if I could give it to you? Tony stared at Li Shu. What do you want? Li Shu said, I want 30% of your shares and 100 million USD. Li Shu didn't ask for too many shares. After all, he asked for too much. If Tony might refuse, the other party would look for it first. In that case, the other party may discover the new element structure diagram left by his father. Hearing this, Tony thought for a while and said solemnly, "Okay, if you can really find it, I am willing to give you 30% of my shares and 100 million USD. Li Shu nodded slightly. Then sign a contract first. Li Shu took out the prepared contract and handed it to the other party. Tony hurriedly signed it after reading it. After signing, Li Shu handed over a new element composition diagram and a new element reactor design diagram to the other party. Tony was shocked when he saw it. Although the idea of the micro-reactor is the same as him, and the style is also very similar to his. But this tiny reactor is more advanced and efficient than his. Many ideas are more wild and imaginative. If he wants to build such an advanced reactor, it is estimated that he will have to wait at least several years. This made him completely believe in this new element composition map. Tony said, "Your reactor design is so perfect. I have to say that the heroes see the same thing. Many of our design styles are very similar." He said with a smile, "When I first saw it, I thought it was my own design." Li Shu. At the same time, Crossbones and Telville finally found Li Shu in front of the cafe. Looking at Li Shu at the end of the street in the distance, the two did not step forward, but sat in the car. Just a look of doubt on his face. Because opposite Li Shu, there is a face they are very familiar with, that is Iron Man. The two looked at each other. They really don't know what kind of communication these two guys can have. After all, one is an ordinary high school student with a little more power, and the other is a top rich man and a technological genius. There should be no communication between the two. And according to their previous investigation, Li Shu had never had contact with Iron Man. That's why, now the two were still talking and enjoying each other. The two looked stunned. Crossbones said in confusion, What's the situation? Why are the two guys who can't hit the 3 poles talking and laughing now, and even I'm a little excited when I see that Stark, eh? Terville is also confused. How do I know what's going on? Does Stark know that this guy has the strength to surpass Captain America? Terville suddenly thought of something. By the way, Fury is recruiting this guy. Stark has a good relationship with Fury, so he may know Li Shu through Fury. Then the two met here by chance, and because of Fury's relationship, they were able to chat soon. The two were talking so happily, it seems that Fury's side is probably successful, or almost done. Terville nodded heavily, thinking that was the truth. They didn't know that in the black marinated egg, Li Shu's strength was not as simple as simply surpassing Captain America, but had risen to 5 Captain Americas. The news of the black marinated egg did not flow out, and it communicated with S.H.I.E.L.D. internally. This shows that the black marinated egg has begun to keep a hand on the interior of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe he has begun to suspect that something is wrong at the moment. Crossbones was stunned for a moment, then pondered for a while, and it seemed as if this idea was the only one that made more sense. It seems that this is the only possibility. Immediately, there was a hint of excitement on his face. Since this is the case, Fury can take this kid so quickly with 180,000 yuan, so our 300,000 yuan is not enough for this kid? Hearing Crossbones' words, Telville also showed a relaxed smile on his face. He immediately said with a smile, "Then let's wait a little longer, wait for Stark to go up and talk to him, then take the 300,000 and buy him." They didn't go straight up. After all, Stark is still there, and this guy is very familiar with black marinated eggs. If they go up rashly now and recruit Li Shu into the organization, that is to tell the Hydra signal to the black marinated egg. In front of the cafe, Tony looked at the design book, a little excited, and said, "Well, I'll go back to the laboratory first to confirm the authenticity of this new element structure diagram. If it's true, then I'll put the share book and that share on your account." Li Shu nodded with a smile. "Okay. By the way, I want to borrow your company's weapon manufacturing laboratory, and I want to make some small objects myself." He needs to build all kinds of things now, and naturally needs all kinds of manufacturing equipment. The Stark Group's weapons laboratory is the best place. Because the world's top manufacturing technology is gathered here. Because of the detailed new element reactor, he basically believed the new element structure diagram that Li Shu gave him. So Tony readily agreed to Li Shu's words. "Okay, I'll give you the authority." He solemnly said again, "Thank you, Mr. Li, you are undoubtedly the greatest genius in this world, whether it is a new element structure diagram or a new element reaction push design. It's really excellent. I'm the first to see someone who is more powerful than me, and so much younger than me." Speaking of this, Tony showed a wry smile. It's really like an old saying in the East, there are talented people in the country, and Qinlong dies on the beach. Li Shu was stunned. Is this what this sentence is used for? What is the old saying? Don't mess around with ancient poems, you miscellaneous. Tony immediately smiled brightly again. Thank you for sharing such a great discovery and invention with me. Li Shu smiled and waved his hand. I'm not that great, I'm just a porter of nature. Li Shu is actually a pun, definitely Tony doesn't know. Tony listened, only to think that Li Shu was extraordinarily modest. You were right, those of us who are engaged in scientific research are all porters of nature. In an instant, Li Shu's image in Tony has taken a new level. The sentence is a porter of nature. He takes all the credit for himself and attributes it to nature. This lack of fame makes Tony feel a little respect. When he looked at the boy again, he felt that the other party was a little more great. Tony then collected some personal information of Li Shu and prepared to leave. Although Iron Man has all kinds of small shortcomings, but in terms of character, you can always trust him. In the end, Tony didn't forget to take a cup of coffee, and he didn't forget to double it before leaving. Li Shu didn't come up with the complete industrial chain design plan for electric vehicles, otherwise, Tony might feel that the hero sees the same thing even more. After all, the number of words and patterns in that proposal is much thicker than that of the new element reactor. The reason why he didn't come out is because Li Shu wants to build his own electric vehicle company. As long as he builds electric cars, he will not worry about sales and stock prices. At that time, his assets will undergo earth-shaking changes, and he will create a trillion-level company. After all, the complete set of electric vehicle design plans in his hand are several grades higher than the latest product line in the previous life, and it is even more crushing and smashing any electric vehicle in this era. Thinking of this, Li Shu felt very comfortable. Li Shu ordered a cup of coffee. Just wait until Iron Man sends a permission update message, and he can go directly to the Stark building and build his own things. In the car on the side of the road, after the Crossbones made sure that Iron Man had completely left, they also confirmed with the intelligence system that there were no other people around who would cause problems, and they went to Li Shu. Li Shu was drinking coffee when the two of Crossbones came up. The two of them had faint and calm smiles on their faces. Terville also specially organized the meticulous suit and leather shoes. Hello, Mr. Li. Terwell looked at Li Shu and smiled indifferently. After speaking, he pulled out the chair and sat in front of Li Shu. Li Shu glanced at the two and instantly understood their identities. The second and fifth boy in S.H.I.E.L.D., a member of Hydra. Terville is also an aide to Security Minister Pierce. Thinking of how S.H.I.E.L.D. wooed him before. In an instant, he understood that these two guys were mostly here to win him over, and they were the kind that helped Hydra win over. Li Shu continued drinking coffee without looking at the two of them. Is something wrong? Seeing Li Shu's defiant attitude, Terville and Crossbones flashed a slight anger in their eyes. After all, who are the two people? One is the supreme leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., the confidant of Hydra's top management, and the other is a high-level agent and a top-level warrior who has experienced many battles. When have you been treated like this, and still ignored by a little kid? However, the two were slightly angry in their hearts, but they did not show it on the surface. Terville clenched his fists and forced a smile. Mr. Li, we are looking for you this time. Boom boom boom. The words are not over yet. It was interrupted by the loud motor of a supercar. An orange supercar stopped by the side of the road. Watching the supercar interrupted himself. Terville was even more angry, and looked at the supercar with gritted teeth. Crossbones was also a little resentful that the supercar interrupted his own conversation and looked at the supercar. Then the two saw that inside the supercar, a capable woman in a suit came out. See this face. The two were stunned. Because this person is Iron Man's assistant, the housekeeper, Chili Pepper. There was a little doubt in their hearts. Why is this guy here? Is he also here to buy coffee? The Iron Man pair, who seemed to have the same taste, both like to buy coffee at this shop. But the two didn't care about the little pepper. After all, it is impossible for Xiao Chili to touch them, and the circles of the two sides are completely different. Just when the two were about to continue talking about their own affairs, they saw little Pepper walking towards them. Immediately, doubts arose in my heart. Does this guy know them? Not right. Obviously no communication. This situation caught both Terville by surprise. After all, it was something they didn't expect at all. Unexpectedly, there will be such a person who is irrelevant, but also a little related. Next moment. Here comes the little Pepper. Terville frowned slightly and said directly, Is there anything you want to do with me? Little Pepper was stunned for a moment, and looked at him like, Who are you? Terville and Crossbones were slightly taken aback. Not looking for them. Is that? Little Pepper looked at Li Shu again. Mr. Li, do you know them? Looking for Li Shu? Turville and Crossbones looked at each other, filled with question marks. What's the situation? Li Shu shook his head. Little Pepper immediately ignored Telville, but looked at Li Shu with a respectful smile on his face. Mr. Li, I am Tony's secretary and housekeeper, and he asked me to give you something. Talking. She handed over a document to Li Shu and said with a smile, Mr. Li, this is Tony's 30% share book of Stark Group. From now on, you are the second largest shareholder of Stark Group. In addition, we have also credited 100 million USD to your card, and also asked the bank to upgrade your card. After all, the upgrade is for the highest level black card. We have also opened access to all laboratories under the Stark Group for you. This is your permission card. After speaking, Chili took out a brand new blue card from his pocket and handed it to Li Shu. Li Shu took the card and said with a smile, thank you. Little Pepper smiled and shook his head. We are grateful to you. Mr. Li, I'll go back to the company to deal with things first. Li Shu smiled and nodded. Okay, goodbye. Then the Little Pepper drove the orange supercar and left the place. The two of Vertil next to him listened to Xiao Chili's words, and only felt their heads explode. What did they just hear? Tony Stark transferred 30% of his shares to Li Shu. Directly made Li Shu the second largest shareholder of Stark Group? What new age joke is this? Stark transferred so many shares to a teenager with whom he had no social interaction. Is this being filled with ecstasy soup? In comparison, that 100 million USD seems a bit cheap. The two of Wordle were frozen in place like electric shocks. They are really unbelievable. But it all happened like this, and most importantly, the person who spoke was Pepper, the person closest to Stark. There is no need for the other party to lie, so such absurd things really happened. Li Shu acquired a 30% stake in Stark Group, as well as 100 million USD in cash. This terrifying news hit the brains of the two of them, causing them to shut down in an instant. Li Shu glanced at the two of them. Didn't you ask me for something? What? When Telville heard this, they looked at each other, their previous calmness completely disappeared. If you say 300,000, you can easily win this guy. After all, this is a poor boy whose imagination is limited by poverty. As a result, people changed hands and got tens of billions of USD worth of Stark shares and 100 million USD of cash. Only found out at the end. It turns out that they are the people whose imagination is limited by poverty. It turns out that their Hydra is the Joker. Turville laughed dryly. We came here mainly to tell you, in fact, we can still consider S.H.I.E.L.D. Ha ha ha. Telville snorted, and the kind of bank card in his hand quietly slipped into his pocket. Crossbones next to him also struggled to squeeze a smile, nodding and bowing at Li Shu. Li Shu looked at the two of them, and naturally knew that they were hit by the scene in front of them. He also had no interest in talking to these two people more. Now, to his strength, neither Hydra nor S.H.I.E.L.D. could pose any threat to him. He waved his hand. I'm not interested, let's go. The eyes of the two people who were sitting on pins and needles lit up, and then they left as if they were running for their lives. Li Shu was left in place. Li Shu looked at the permission card in his hand and smiled. Now, it's time for him to build new equipment to grow fairy beans, battle suits, and bracelets. Saying that, he finished his last coffee, headed towards the Stark Group. The top floor of the Stark building. Tony Banner is all here. Last time Tony found Banner and successfully persuaded him to join the Avengers Alliance. The two have been looking for a way to help Banner control the Hulk lately. But today the two apparently did not work on such methods together. Because Tony was in the research room intently looking at the virtual projection in front of him, where a new element was being constructed. And Banner at the moment is sitting outside, playing electric. With the last proton added. In an instant, the entire pattern lights up, showing green. Jarvis's voice sounded. Congratulations, sir. You have discovered a new element with powerful energy. This element can completely replace palladium, providing your arc reactor with more massive and pure energy. Tony roared excitedly. He immediately said, graphed the new reactor on the design drawing. Then a brand new element arc reactor appeared in front of Tony. Then a series of data leaked out. Finished blasting the palladium element reactor on him. Tony clenched his fists, his face full of excitement. At this moment, hearing Tony's roar, Banner also ran in quickly. What's the matter? Did it work? Tony nodded excitedly and pointed to the virtual projection. Banner looked at the data above, his eyes gradually widened, and he took a deep breath. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at Tony. It's really a new element, and it's an extraordinarily powerful new element. This is really what that boy gave you. Tony nodded. It's his blueprints that allowed me to build this new, unprecedented reactor. Banner looked at the virtual projection in disbelief. It's hard to imagine that an 18-year-old can create such a cutting-edge technology product. This is too genius. He has achieved the goal that you can achieve in N years, my god. Banner then said suspiciously. However, no matter how I look at it, I feel that his style of invention is so similar to yours that he is in the same vein. He wouldn't have studied you before. But I think it's normal for you, as a well-known scientist, to study you. But this guy's learning is too similar. If you tell the origin of this thing, I really thought it was you in the future, ha ha ha. Tony was quite happy at first, but when he heard the middle part, it felt a little strange. What does it mean to achieve his achievements after N years? He coughed. It's true that I have an extraordinary ability, and I'm a little smarter than the two of us. Banner's eyes widened and he turned to Tony. He's 18 years old doing what you can only do in your 40s, you're sure there's a point? Tony coughed a few more times. A million dots, a million dots. Tony laughed at Banner's laughter. Ha ha ha, you feel the same way, and so do I. Maybe I taught the apprentice unintentionally. Tony smiled happily, but Li Shu was even more happy when he was carrying tens of billions of stocks. Banner said, I really hope to have the opportunity to meet this peerless genius. Tony laughed. There is a chance. He immediately said to Jarvis, Jarvis, help me build this thing. Okay, sir. The other side. Li Shu also took the permission card and entered a weapons research room in the Stark building. He immediately began to use various equipment and began to build his own things. Inside the weapons research room, all the top-of-the-line equipment, all semi-intelligent, can assist the user most efficiently and make what he wants. And, here, you can basically find any raw material you want to use. Definitely, in addition to these top raw materials such as vibranium. Then Li Shu moved quickly, under his swift movements. The efficiency of manufacturing is directly doubled. The first thing he made was the fairy bean planting equipment. This thing first needs to create a breeding cabin, which can deliver huge and specific energy to the fairy beans and trigger the growth of the fairy beans. Immortal beans don't need sunlight at all, they only need huge and specific energy, and with a specific environment, they can trigger their growth, and the more energy, the faster this thing grows. The fastest one can be cooked once a month, and one bean can be turned into 6 beans, making 6 of him become 36. That is, if you want to produce so many new beans in such a short period of time, you will waste energy, and only a new energy reactor can be used. You know, a new energy reactor can supply stable power to the entire Stark building for a long time. The results are used to maximize the production of fairy beans, and to produce fairy beans with a file size of 6 thumbs, it will cost a piece of new energy reactor. Only this thing can eat too much energy. Then it is to create energy, and energy is naturally a new element reactor. These two things, under professional equipment, are almost forged simultaneously. Especially the speed of Li Shu is amazing, which greatly speeds up the forging efficiency. It only took an hour and a half. A brand new fairy bean cultivation cabin has just been released. A breeding cabin 1 meter long and half a meter wide. At the core, a new energy reactor is lit, delivering energy to the entire fairy bean cultivation cabin. At the point of the cultivation cabin, there are 6 small grooves, which are filled with nutrient solution. That's where the fairy beans are placed. Looking at his fairy bean cultivation cabin, Li Shu felt a little excited. Finally got it out. He let out a slight sigh and took out the bag containing fairy beans. Take out 5 fairy beans. After thinking for a while, he put another bag back. There are only 4 left. To be on the safe side, he decided to carry 2 on his body, just in case. Then 4 beans were put into the groove of the culture chamber. Then the incubation chamber was started, and then the reactor exploded with energy, and the incubation chamber was activated. At the same time, a white mist rose up in the entire cultivation cabin, and a large amount of energy was like lightning, and like countless spider webs, it rushed into the fairy beans. The cultivation of fairy beans has begun. Li Shu directly increased the cultivation efficiency to the maximum and matured in 1 month. As a result, the reactor exploded with more powerful energy, the consumption skyrocketed wildly, and more turbulent energy was injected into the fairy beans to promote its violent growth. It only takes 1 month to harvest 24 brand new fairy beans. Thought here. A smile appeared on Li Shu's face. Finally, he realized the cycle of sustainable development. As long as you nurture it a few more times, you no longer have to worry about running out of this stuff. After finishing the fairy bean cultivation cabin, he started building his battlesuit and space gear. Afterwards, he ran out of the building again, and came in with a large pile of things on his back. Inside, it is naturally the raw material ore of gravity hum. Then, he began to process the raw material ore, extract the gravity onium, and began to build his own space bracelet. The reason why it is a bracelet is because the ring is too small to carry too much gravity. In addition to creating gravity hum, he also built his own nano battlesuit, and his nano battlesuit was also designed as a necklace, because it was more convenient. Having used the equipment once, practice makes perfect, making Li Shu's build faster. Time flies. 2 hours later, Li Shu's space bracelet is finally out. A white gold bracelet that looks very simple and atmospheric. Li Shu held this bracelet and was very excited. He was about to take a look at the huge space inside the space bracelet. Just at this time, the laboratory doorbell rang. Although, 2 people appeared on the screen at the door. Tony and Banner. Tony thought to the camera and said, "Lee, my friend admires you very much and wants to see you." Ross is still tracking the Hulk. At the same time, he also gained a new power through the blood of the Hulk and the experiment of the Hulk. This time, he is going to capture the Hulk himself. He wants to use the original body of the Hulk to dig out more super strength. He could feel that there was greater potential in the Hulk's body. Military base. Inside a helicopter. Ross looked decisively. This time, I won't let him run away. The other side. The black marinated egg also knew about Li Shu's acquisition of Stark Group's shares. Immediately, the whole person was stunned in place. The assistant next to him, Hill, was also stunned. The black marinated egg said in disbelief, "What did this guy do? Revived Tony's father? Give this guy 30% of the stock directly." Immediately, the face of the black marinated egg became even darker. This time, it is estimated that pulling him into S.H.I.E.L.D. will be no use. The black marinated egg said with a headache, "After all, there are 5 Captain Americas. Although he can't catch up with the man in white, he can still touch his existence." Hill said from the side, "Maybe we can pull him into the Avengers Alliance. Maybe we can get Tony to come forward and give it a try." Black braised egg nodded slightly. "That's the only way." Hearing the doorbell, Li Shu stopped immediately. He looked at the door, and with a super perspective, he saw Tony and Banner outside the door with. Li Shu's mouth twitched. "Man, these people are here at the right time." Li Shu said loudly, "Wait for a while, I'm doing an experiment, and I don't have time for now. It's about half an hour away." There is no way. He really wasn't available. Tony and Banner have no problem with this. After all, as researchers, they also understand the importance of research. And the 2 of them had nothing to do anyway, so they were relatively idle, so they sat on the bench outside and chatted. Li Shu started experimenting with his new space gear. This space equipment is a combination of technology and mystery. First of all, he set this space equipment so that only he can open it, and his spiritual power is recorded on it. Only when it is recognized that the user is him, the space equipment will be turned on. Because of the lizard potion, he awakening the telepathy ability. Although it is a relatively special telepathy ability, it does activate spiritual power. So when he perceives the space wristband, his mental power will be recognized by the wristband, and then he can touch that special folded space. The way of using it is very similar to those space rings he saw in his previous life. Put on the bracelet, unfold the telepathy ability, and touch the bracelet instantly. Then a very broad space entered Li Shu's perception. There was no sunlight, it was pitch black. But Li Shu can perceive all spaces in space. The biggest difference between this space and most of the space rings seen in previous lives is that this folded space is connected to the outside world to some extent, so there will also be time flow in it, and you can even store living things in it. In addition, from the moment the bracelet is completed, the surface is also wrapped by the power of space and protected by the power of space, so unless the power is so strong that it destroys space or space magic, it cannot truly touch the bracelet. Definitely, if you can really break the bracelet, then the folded space will be released, and all the things inside will fall out. The advantage is that there will not be a situation where the medium is broken, and the contents inside are broken. Feeling the space, Li Shu touched the fairy bean cultivation cabin with his fingers. Next moment, the cultivation cabin in the laboratory disappeared. And in the space of his perception, there is the fairy bean cultivation cabin. And the fairy bean cultivation cabin is still running normally inside. He then looked at the package beside him. There are other things inside: vibranium, mantra rope, vibranium shield, vibranium dagger, money, etc. The vibranium shield has been remodeled, and the top has been turned into a brand new white gold. He touched them one by one, and then these things appeared in the space of his bracelet. He thought about it and wanted to go out. Then a pile of money appeared in his palm. Then the money disappeared and the vibranium shield appeared in his hand. After repeated experiments, the corners of Li Shu's mouth were slightly raised, and it was very convenient to have a space bracelet. No longer have to worry about things being left at home, and then there will be an accident. For Li Shu, if the baby is not around, he is really insecure. After experimenting with space equipment, he went on to finish the final process of the nano equipment. 10 minutes. A brand new white battlesuit appeared in front of Li Shu. He touched the white battlesuit and used his mental power to sense it. Then, the white battlesuit shrank rapidly, like a low tide, and finally turned into a platinum necklace. Put the necklace on your body and feel the mental power. Next moment, the nanomaterial quickly climbed out of the necklace, and within a second, it spread all over Li Shu's body, forming a white battlesuit. His nano battlesuit, finally completed. Mind a move. The battlesuit was retracted again and changed back to the necklace. After doing this, Li Shu was in a very good mood. He immediately used the means to completely delete the experimental data of the entire laboratory, the kind that could not be recovered. Then, he left the laboratory. See Li Shu come out. The two of them lit up. In particular, Banner quickly got up to meet him and gave Li Shu a hug. You should just take a break, you were really young and promising. Seeing that the other party was so enthusiastic, Li Shu also smiled and hugged the other party. Banner smiled curiously. Hugh, what are you doing inside? Li Shu said with a smile. I didn't do anything, just do some experiments on nanomaterials. Hear Li Shu say this. Both of them were bright. After all, they are big scientists, and they all have some contact with nanoscience. Iron Man glanced at his watch and proposed, it's lunchtime now, let's go have lunch. Li Shu and Banner both agreed. The three of them walked while chatting about nanotechnology. As Li Shu talked eloquently, various mature and cutting-edge theories and related data were thrown out. Iron Man and Banner became more and more shocked. When it came to the end, Iron Man and Banner couldn't keep up with Li Shu's thinking. Iron Man smacked his tongue. My God, you only did a little experiment with nanomaterials. You probably have already completed the development of the most cutting-edge nanotechnology. Banner next to him looked at Li Shu as if he were looking at a monster. Are you really a human? The research on mechanics, energy, and nanoscience at a young age has surpassed world standards. We are all hailed as the greatest geniuses, but why is your genius so different from ours? When we were 18 years old, we already had a great reputation, but we couldn't be as perverted as you. Iron Man rubbed the solar system. It did get hit today, it's a monster. Li Shu said with a smile. It's nothing, it's just standing on the shoulders of the predecessors. Banner laughed. I didn't expect you to be quite modest. Soon. A few people came to an open-air restaurant. Soon, Li Shu's operation once again amazed the audience. I saw that Li Shu ordered a huge amount of dishes by himself, and directly stared at Tony and Banner. One person, the weight of a dozen people. Tony coughed. Hugh, although we are rich, we have a lot of money, but there is no need to order so much waste. Seeing that Li Shu ordered so many dishes, the amount of food for 10 people, Tony thought Li Shu was going to waste. Li Shu said with a smile. It won't be wasted, it's just that my food intake is a little bigger than ordinary people. Subsequently, watching Li Shu go on serving food. Shocked, Tony and Banner looked at each other. In each other's eyes, they saw the word monster. Not only knowledge is a monster, but food intake is also a monster. The two smiled wryly. I feel like I have learned a lot today. Tony stabilized his emotions a little and said, by the way, Hugh, I heard that you were very powerful, the strength of 5 Captain Americas. Banner next to him was startled and glanced at Li Shu again. You have the strength of 5 Captain America, you are so strong. How can this small body withstand such a huge force? Li Shu smiled. It's not that powerful, just a little bit stronger than normal people. As he said that, he continued to swirl the clouds away. Looking at Li Shu's terrifying food intake, Banner swallowed, and he believed that the other party had 5 Captain America's food intake. With this amount of food, he is worthy of the strength of 5 Captain Americas. Tony continued. We have a superhero group called Avengers that is overseen by the Shield, but the autonomy is still in our hands. Do you want to join? Li Shu ate a mouthful of steak, smiled and shook his head. Forget it, I like to be at ease, but I don't like to join any organization. Hearing this, Tony stopped persuading him. Above the sky, a truly invisible giant ship is suspended. It is the helicarrier of S.H.I.E.L.D. The black marinated egg was in it, and he bared his teeth slightly. Tony, please persuade a few more times. Persuasion is nothing. Suddenly, a new situation appeared on the screen. He frowned slightly and said, Mom, fake. Why are these guys here? Are you still thinking about the Hulk? Damn it. Didn't I talk to the military for? Why didn't I restrain these guys? He gritted his teeth slightly. Moha fake, these sluts in the military, It seems that I have to talk to the commander-in-chief. He hurriedly said. Notify Tony, let them leave quickly, these guys from the military are coming, avoid them first. But he wasn't finished yet. When the mutation appeared, he widened his eyes. Sheet. Below the helicarrier, a helicopter hovers. Ross looked down, squinting slightly. I found you, Banner. The man next to him said, General, do you need a parachute? Be calm. Ross slapped the opponent on the head. Shabby, if you need a parachute, why would you develop this power? Ross looked down, his eyes were slightly cold. This time, I must take you back. Done. Take a leap. Boom. His body swelled rapidly. It quickly turned into a huge red guy with a very similar appearance to Hulk. Boom. With a loud bang, the ground was bombarded by shells, trembling slightly, and smoke billowed everywhere. A pair of huge hands tore open the smoke and walked out. The Red Giant, the Red Hulk, was born. The Red Giant looked at Banner and the others with sober eyes. Compared to the Hulk, the Red Giant has a sober power even after he transforms. Hearing the loud noise, the people around fled in a panic, screaming constantly. Tony hurriedly looked around, and when they saw each other, both Banner and Tony were taken aback. Why is this guy so similar to you after your transformation? It doesn't look like the kind of monster that hates it at all. Banner said in surprise. And I feel his consciousness is still there. Who is this? At this moment, Tony's phone rang. Rose's people are coming, hide. Tony's mouth twitched. It's already here. The other party is Ross, be careful. I heard that the other party was Ross. Iron Man and Banner were shocked. Unexpectedly, the Red Giant is Ross. Hearing that it was Ross, Banner's heart flashed with anger. Ross chased after him and wanted to bring him back to continue his experiments. Think of all the pains you have endured in experiments. Banner was even more angry. As Banner's anger rose, the watch also sounded an alarm. When Tony saw this, he hurriedly shouted, Don't get excited, don't get excited. He doesn't have a battle armor now. If an angry Hulk appeared next to them, they would be finished. However, Tony's words were finally too late. Roar. A loud roar sounded. The Hulk appeared again. Looking at the hill-like Hulk in front of him, Tony had only one sentence in his heart, it was over. Hulk came out again, with wild rage. It clenched its fists and roared angrily at the sky. After how 10 grams angrily roared, he saw Li Shu out of the corner of his eye. Hulk. Hulk withdrew his gaze, the anger on his face quickly subsided, and he swallowed. Li Shu impressed Hulk. So that even if Li Shu turned into ashes, it could see it. Although Li Shu is no longer wearing a battlesuit, Hulk still recognizes each other at a glance, and Hulk also remembers Li Shu's taste. With both evidence, he would understand. It met the terrifying figure from before. For a moment, Hulk, who was roaring and angry, suddenly stopped moving. Like a small quail, it stood quietly in place. Tony thought it was over. After all, no one can stop the exposed Hulk, not to mention him who is not wearing a steel battlesuit. In the end, I didn't expect that Hulk, who had just come out, roared a few times, and suddenly died, and stood honestly in the same place. Saw something very unusual. Tony was stunned. What is this operation? Did Banner learn to control? Tony tried shouting. Banner. Hulk looked at him and immediately gave him a vicious look. Tony swallowed. Well, not Banner or Hulk. Tony looked at Li Shu at this time, and said in a low voice, Go, let's get out of here. Li Shu looked at the last 2 bites of food in front of him. The corner of his mouth twitched. The last 2, now. Tony was speechless. When are you still eating? Li Shu looked at Hulk. Isn't there still Hulk? I think he can resist for a while. Tony pulled up Li Shu's sleeve, said silently, and said to his mouth, It kills. The words are not over yet. Hulk roared and rushed towards the Red Giant, like a giant cannonball, not caring about the 2 people around him at all. It went on a rampage, smashing a large number of chairs and tables, and even easily broke the steel railings. Tony was stunned when he saw this. Is this up for a fight? Isn't this guy indiscriminate attack? What happened today, suddenly changed sex? And why was this guy so abnormal just now, silent? Tony's head was spinning. Suddenly he remembered something. That time, something similar also happened. The Hulk faced people without fighting for the first time ever. That was yesterday, when the Hulk met the man in white, the terrifying guy that people later called the White Spider. Encountering the White Spider, the Hulk did not fight, but turned around and left. Therefore, the White Spider is the only powerful Hulk who puts down his anger and does not fight. And now, the Hulk has made that exception again. That is to say, the White Spider appeared, right here. And it's very close. Tony's head flashed. His eyes slowly widened, his eyes were full of disbelief, and his eyes slowly looked somewhere. When the black marinated egg saw the red giant, the whole person was stunned. What's the matter? Ross has become a red giant. Damn, has he figured out how to become a giant? Seeing this, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. He felt that the super weapon he had just recruited was about to disappear and was about to be taken away. Hawkeye next to him frowned when he saw this scene. Now, things are in trouble. When a red giant appears, Banner may not be able to escape. But then Hawkeye said, but there is a Li Shu next to him, maybe they can run away. After all, Li Shu can fly. Hearing this, the black marinated egg was slightly relieved. Results the next moment. In their sight, the Hulk appeared. Then, he saw the Hulk appear again. Seeing this, the black marinated egg froze for a while. Hey Lu Dan slightly gritted his teeth. Damn, the Hulk was released too. Tony and Li Shu are still beside them, now they are in danger. Once the Hulk is released, it will be indistinguishable between the enemy, and the nearest one will surely suffer first. Hawkeye also has concerns. Li Shu may be able to save Tony. The result was a surprising scene. The Hulk didn't move, and before the two could react, the Hulk moved again. However, the other party ran directly towards the red giant this time, ignoring the existence of the surrounding. This time the Hulk seems to be enlightened. The black marinated egg said in horror. What's going on? This guy is sensible. F*K fake. The red giant and the Hulk fought together in an instant. The two again caused huge amounts of damage to their surroundings. The powerful force easily destroyed the nearby trees, causing huge amounts of cracks in the concrete. The terrifying destructive power terrified everyone. Countless people fled here frantically, not daring to stay. However, the Hulk obviously couldn't beat this new guy. After all, the opponent's soldiers are warriors, and they will have powerful fighting skills. Strengthening skills, suppressing the Hulk, a guy who only uses brute force. Outside the open-air restaurant. In the woods, Tony and Li Shu were trotting, leaving here. While running, Tony looked closely at Li Shu and asked, "You, a white spider?" Huh? Li Shu was stunned when he heard the white spider. What the hell is a white spider? Li Shu didn't know the nickname given to him by the outside world, and his first reaction was stunned. Tony looked at Li Shu's first reaction, and was instantly a little confused. After all, Li Shu's appearance doesn't look like a lie, but he really doesn't seem to know. In fact, he didn't think that Li Shu was the white spider. After all, that white spider was too terrifying. How could it be Li Shu who only had the strength of 5 Captain America? And Tony didn't feel that such a terrifying creature would be by his side at all. This time. Boom. The Hulk fell in front of Tony and Li Shu. A tree was smashed, and the leaves flew. The scene made Tony shudder. Tony was stunned when he saw this. The Hulk was beaten down. Li Shu was also slightly stunned. He did not expect that the Hulk was so powerful now that he was easily defeated by the red giant. Shouldn't the two be evenly matched? Boom boom boom. The red giant broke through trees and rushed from behind Tony and Li Shu. See here. Tony suddenly lost his soul, and broke out a foul language, fake. A flash of despair flashed in his heart. It's really over now. Just when he thought he was going to be crushed by the Hulk. Call out. He felt caught, and then his eyes flashed. After, the whole person appeared on the other side, avoiding the impact of the red giant. He then saw clearly that the person who grabbed him was Li Shu. Tony was taken aback. Are you so fast? Li Shu shrugged, very slow. To be honest, he has slowed down a lot. Otherwise, with Tony's small body, he couldn't handle it at all. After the red giant smashed into countless trees, he was also surprised to see 2 humans who suddenly appeared. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Just when he thought he was going to kill the 2 by mistake. Then I felt like a flower in front of my eyes. The 2 quickly disappeared. With powerful eyes, he saw at a glance that it was one of the men who grabbed Stark and left. That speed is amazing. He instantly turned to Li Shu's side, and watched Li Shu frown tightly. He felt that Li Shu was somewhat familiar. Who are you? After he finished speaking, he shot towards Li Shu. If you want to catch Li Shu, ask to understand. The red giant appeared in front of Li Shu in an instant. Seeing that Li Shu didn't dodge, he was overjoyed at first, but then a trace of unease arose in his heart. Then he saw a hand suddenly appear in front of him. Put it on his head. The other party's movements were fast, almost beyond his imagination. An even stronger uneasiness rose in his heart. He had just gotten rid of that hand, but found that the other party was holding his head firmly like an iron hoop, making his head unable to move at all. Next moment, the most frightening thing happened to him. There was a terrifying force he had never encountered before. He grabbed his head and hit the ground. Boom. The red giant was directly smashed into the ground by Li Shu's hand. Smashing deeply into it, the ground instantly burst open and turned into pieces. Tony, held by the other hand, witnessed the suffocating and terrifying process. Tony looked at Li Shu in shock. You also said that you are not a white spider. This red giant is courting death, he really can't. Questions about good brother, Wanian Toolman. Li Shu coughed. Wait for me. After he finished speaking, he increased the strength of his hand and turned it hard. A click. The red giant was directly twisted by him and his neck was broken, and he completely lay on the ground. The other side. The Hulk, who just arrived, just saw this scene, and a cold war was fought all over his body. Looking at Li Shu's eyes, there was only fear left. Hulk's young mind was once again hit by huge amounts of blows, and a strong psychological shadow was officially left. After Li Shu did this, he looked at Hulk. Seeing Li Shu looking at him, Hulk took 2 steps back in fright, and stammered, "How? K. Don't do it. Be good." When Tony saw this scene, he was completely dumbfounded. If he saw Li Shu turned into a white spider, it would make him unbelievable. Then Hulk's words directly broke his cognition and made him completely confused. Hulk can talk? And the words are soft words. Hulk turned into a good baby. Outrageous. Tony felt that since he met Li Shu today, his entire cognitive view began to collapse crazily. Tony was carried by Li Shu like a chicken, and his whole body was in a state of being split. Looks very comedic. Like today's hilarious comedians. Li Shu glanced at Hulk. Change back. Tony slowly turned his head and looked at Li Shu in shock. Can this be changed back? Do you think this is a mech warrior transformation? As a result, in his peripheral vision, the mountain-like figure began to shrink. Afterwards, it turned into a comatose little panties banner. Tony took a sigh of relief, and his whole body felt numb to the point where he almost lost his breath, but he didn't notice it. Li Shu immediately mentioned the two and ran out of the woods. Ran into the downtown. Li Shu put down Tony. Tony's expression almost froze. You. How? Li Shu chuckled. I just worked a little harder than ordinary people, and then I had 1,000,000 ability points, and I became what I am now. It is indeed stronger. Tony's mouth twitched. You are not stronger, you are completely inhuman, and you are too strong. I feel like we are not a species anymore. Immediately, he gritted his teeth slightly. But since you want to hide your identity, then I will help you keep it a secret. You can rest assured that you don't need to get rid of me. Hearing Tony's words, Li Shu couldn't help crying. He never thought about getting rid of his good brother. Li Shu smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, there is no such thing. Li Shu mentioned the sleepy banner. Bring him back. Tony nodded. After walking for a while, Tony was a little puzzled. How can you be so strong? Are you the same as Walter's group? Li Shu smiled without saying a word. Seeing that Li Shu didn't say anything, Tony stopped asking. Tony then whispered. Don't worry, today's matter, I will handle it, and nothing will happen. Hulk, this is legitimate self-defense, and it has nothing to do with us two ordinary people. Li Shu smiled. Afterwards, Tony took Banner back to Tony's house. And Li Shu started looking for his own house. After all, his rental house has been abandoned. He dragged Tony to help him find it. Soon, he rented a nice and relatively cheap flat in Manhattan. The reason is to rent, not buy. It's because Li Shu has money, but he will have to use the money to develop electric cars. And in Li Shu's view, buying a house is no different from renting a house. Anyway, all live the same. It cost 50,000 USD to rent this large flat. There is nothing in Li Shu's rental house, just need to lose a little money. So Li Shu went directly to the new dapping floor and bought a lot of food. After all, for him, the demand for food is indeed a bit large. But for his current money, these are not a problem. It has to be said that this large flat is indeed very large. And the decoration is very atmospheric and full of personality. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows is the center of New York City, the financial center of the financial center Manhattan. There are countless high-rise buildings, people who come and go are people in suits and leather shoes, full of the most modern atmosphere. Next to a floor-to-ceiling window, there is a bathtub, and outside, there is a vast expanse of blue water, blue sky and white clouds. You can lie in this bathtub and enjoy the sea and blue sky, which can be regarded as the ultimate enjoyment. In the early morning, you can see the sunrise and everything is coming to life. At night, you can see the stars and rivers fill the sky, and the world is full of romance. It's a really nice place. Li Shu glanced around with perspective, and there was nothing wrong with the whole house. The residents on the upper and lower floors do not have any problems, and there are no agents among them, they are all normal residents. But downstairs he seems to be a woman's room, and the whole decoration is full of feminine style. After getting acquainted with it all, he received a call from Tony. He said he found the person Li Shu asked him to find. Then he gave Li Shu the address and related information. Soon, Li Shu found a man who was currently losing some serious hair. Master Horse. Yes, it's the guy who made electric cars in his previous life. This world also has him, and even this guy appeared in Iron Man 2. However, at the moment when Li Shu found the other party seemed to be in a bit of embarrassment, and he only lost a lot of money in his business recently. Li Shu talked to the other party and found that the other party was indeed very capable, but now it seems to be a bit unlucky. Exactly, this is exactly what Li Shu needs. Li Shu needs a guy who can help you make money, and Master Ma is undoubtedly a good choice. In the end, Li Shu hired him as the general manager of the new company to help him manage the company. Li Shu even gave him a share reward. As long as he can successfully go public in the next 2 years and achieve a market value of 100 billion, you will give him 5 percentage points. If he can achieve 1 trillion within 5 years, you will give each other 10 percentage points. Li Shu understands that if you want to retain talent, you have to make a lot of money. As long as he can create more wealth for him, it is okay to share some with others. In the end, Li Shu also let the other party see his own terrorist power and threatened the other party. If there is chaos, no one can save the other party's life. It belongs to carrots and sticks, and both blessings are given. It's a pity that he only has dragon training skills, not human training skills. Otherwise, it will be easier for him to control the leader of the horse. Li Shu was slightly regretful for their new company. Li Shu is still very optimistic. After all, it is the trend of the future, and the authorities have begun to encourage this. And began to build infrastructure, began to build charging piles everywhere, to provide convenience for electric vehicles. In addition, his technology crushes those completely immature things on the market, whether it is the battery or the system of the whole car. As soon as he was born, he must have attracted countless followers. He must be the first person to eat crabs. He must have made a lot of money. As long as there is no problem with the direction, the management level and marketing methods of Blessing Ma's leader, hundreds of billions and trillions are definitely not a problem, it's just a matter of time. After doing this, Li Shu returned to his own flat. I have to say that compared to the previous 10 or 20 flats, which was like a prison, living on the dapping floor was indeed much more comfortable, which made Li Shu feel happy. At this moment, the sky also darkened. The simulated cooldown is coming again. In this simulation, he is going to learn magic. As long as you learn magic and make up for a larger shortcoming. He would go to the old mountain city, find Mandarin, snatch the 10 precepts, completely erase the hidden dangers of the 10 precepts, and become a powerful weapon that can be used. Then go to conquer the extraordinary dragon. Speaking of magic, he couldn't help but think of the book of Emperor Weishan. This book records the most powerful known white magic and defensive magic in the world. I don't know if I can get this book this time and learn the magic in it. It would be great if you could. Li Shu was finally full after eating n portions of steak. Then I watched TV for a while bored, and finally got to the end of cooling. Simulation time cooldown is over. Start a new simulation. Please choose your simulation ability. Subsequently, a series of abilities appeared before his eyes. God rewards hard work. Purple, Liar King, white. Pig Rider, blue. The Madman, blue. Baby Crack, purple. Magic Wizard, purple. Runner, white. A series of abilities appeared in front of Li Shu's eyes. Li Shu glanced at it. In an instant, I was attracted by Magic Wizard. He wants to simulate magic next. Isn't this a sleepover and a pillow? Magic Wizard, purple. You have an extremely outstanding magical ability. In the field of magic, you can always use analogies to draw inferences from others, and you can cultivate very quickly. See here. Li Shu smiled slightly. Yes, this ability is to be determined. Then he looked at other abilities. There are also 2 purple ability towels this time. One is to inherit the God's way rewards diligence. This need not be said, it must be. He immediately looked at another purple ability. Treasure cracking. Purple ability. You can crack the restrictions on most treasures and make it available to you. When you see a treasure, you no longer have to worry about it being someone else's. You can also strengthen this ability through learning. See this ability. Li Shu's eyes lit up instantly. Good guy. This skill is a bit of a thing, forcibly encroaching on other people's treasures. Turn someone else's treasure into your own. There are too many treasures in this world, and some can be used by anyone who gets them. But some require a password, or have been casted with special magic that others cannot use. But after he has this ability, these treasures can be collected for their own use. There is a feeling that I have all the treasures in the world, and I feel a little comfortable. This ability is also worth a little. After all, purple, the most important thing, can be solidified in reality, to obtain treasures in reality. There are few choices, just 3 purples, so choose. He glanced at the rest of the blue again. There is an ability that makes him laugh or cry. Pig Rider, blue, you can tame pigs and make pigs your mounts to fight in all directions with you. What the hell are these 2 abilities? Pig Rider, subdue pigs to become mounts. Let's not say whether the pig is strong or not, but the image of riding a pig is also quite comedy. Among the 3 purple abilities, for Li Shu, the most important one is Magic Wizard. Because of this ability, he is more likely to enter Kamar Taj. Caecilius's betrayal, and stealth learning about Dormammu's dark magic, led to the Ancient One's need for a magical wizard to compete with the other side. A large part of the reason Singular got into Kamar Taj was the pressure of Caecilius. A person who has learned the Dormammu black magic of communication is very dangerous. In the original book, the dialogue between Ancient One and Wang clearly mentioned that new magical wizards are needed to deal with the demonized Caecilius. Definitely, the main thing is that Ancient One wants to quit. The Ancient One has long drawn power from the dark dimension, Dormammu, to maintain immortality. But everything comes at a price, and this has led to the Ancient One being eroded by dark forces. However, Ancient One has always resisted the erosion with strong mana and will, but she couldn't resist it perfectly. If you don't pay attention, will collapse and blacken. Ancient One maintains immortality, not because of selfish desires, but to protect the world. But to protect the world for hundreds of years, it has to resist the erosion of dark forces, which makes Ancient One very tired. So she started looking for a successor. At this point in time, Chi-Chi has not yet appeared, so if he appears with super high ability, he can take the place of Chi-Chi. Li Shu gathered his thoughts. He opened his mouth and said, I choose, Heaven's Way rewards diligence, treasure deciphering, magic wizard. The ability selection is successful. A new simulation starts. Day 1. You went to Kadu in Nepal, looking for Ancient One and others, but you found nothing. In order to find each other, you stay here. At the same time while exercising, but without the relevant exercise conditions, your efficiency is reduced a lot. Second day. You continued to search for Ancient One and others, but found nothing. The 8th day. You have looked at every corner of Kachat every day in Kamchatka, but you have not found this group of people. Day 16. You are very familiar with every corner of Jiadu, but the person you are looking for still does not appear. You are a little upset. Day 23. Your gaze is patrolling every corner of Jiadu, but you still haven't seen Ancient One and the others, not even the receptionist of the novice village Modu. You decide. Wait a few more months. If you can't wait, go out and find someone else to learn magic. For 23 days, I did not see Kamar Taj's people, and found nothing. This is the most bland simulation he has ever seen. Li Shu had a slight toothache, and he didn't know how long he would spend here. It is true, though, that if he stays here too long, he might look for someone else to learn magic. It's just that the conditions are often not as favorable as that of Kamar Taj. The knowledge storage is not so rich, and even a little dangerous. But there is no way, if he really can't find it, he can only settle for the next best thing. Second month. Finally, Emperor Tien pays off the painstaking efforts. On this day, you finally arrived at a familiar face, Mordo, the senior brother of Kamar Taj. Instead of approaching Roar directly, you brush your presence around him, and you ask Kamar Taj from someone, trying to get his attention. You have undoubtedly succeeded. When Mordo saw you, his eyes lit up, and he secretly followed you. You stopped and let Mordo, who was hiding in the dark, come out. You act like you don't know him and ask who he is and why he is following you. Mordo smiled and expressed his willingness to take you to Kamar Taj. Modu asks you why you want to go to Kamar Taj. You answered honestly that you want to learn magic and gain more power. Moro was slightly taken aback for your frankness. Soon, he will take you to an ordinary house in Jiadu. You look inside, ordinary, there is no Ancient One at all. You still have some doubts, but at the moment when Mordo opened the door, you found that everything had changed behind the door. A new room appeared, a new place appeared. You come to your senses. This door has teleportation magic, leading to another place. When it doesn't start, it's just an ordinary door, and you can't notice it's abnormal at all. You have successfully met Ancient One, and the other party can see through the strength of your body at a glance. At the same time, she is still very puzzled, saying that she can't see your past and future, a chaos, which is something she has never heard of. Mo Du next to him was shocked. He didn't expect that there would be people who the teacher couldn't see through. She asked, "Your ability is already very strong compared to ordinary people. Why did you come to Kamar Taj?" Facing the Ancient One, "You tell the truth, you want more power." Ancient One said that your power is enough, you don't need to resort to other powers. After speaking, she just wants to let you go, she doesn't want to teach you. This is your only chance to enter Kamar Taj and you don't want to miss it. You go straight to the point, indicating that you will never use the power of darkness, whether it is from immortality or the temptation of powerful power, you will not use the power of darkness. At the same time, it will not deliberately do things that endanger the world. In addition, if the earth is in trouble, if you have enough strength, you will take action. These are your truths. You can't use the power of darkness. Although you can quickly increase your strength, it will bring huge amounts of danger. For you, there is no need to take risks. You don't intentionally do things that harm the world, because you really aren't that boring. In addition, the earth is where you live and your home. As long as you are strong enough, if anyone wants to destroy the earth, you will kill him. Ancient One heard this and looked at you again. Through magic, she can clearly feel that what you say is sincere. 3 words successfully moved Ancient One. Absolutely not touching the dark power is what she cares about the most. Your will to resist the darkness is stronger than anyone she has ever seen. She has never seen a person so repulsive of the dark power. After all, the dark power can even bring undead and powerful effects, and many people have difficulty controlling themselves. She needs a genius magician who will not be eroded by dark forces, because only such a magician will not bring the world into darkness. In addition, you can do not take the initiative to harm others, although it is not good, but at least not evil. If you can really cultivate you, then you will be regarded as an Asgardian for the earth in the future. Most importantly, the Ancient One knew that it didn't have much choice, the new Asgardian that Earth needed. Finally, you managed to enter Kamar Taj. Li Shu looked at the simulation. In one of the passages, Ancient One said that he could not see his future past, a piece of chaos. This is probably the reason for the system, which helped him cover up the prying eyes of others. He ended up in Kamar Taj anyway. After all, he is indeed a good candidate. He definitely does not borrow the power of darkness. He is also a magical genius, and he still has the will to protect the earth. Not a good person, but definitely not a bad person. For the earth, it is a very good choice. The 3rd month. You start to learn magic from Mordo and others. The first thing to learn is the spell, using the sling ring, the void to draw an array, and release the spell. Your progress is very fast, and you have quickly mastered the 3 basic magics, attack, defense, and restraint. Berthak's Thunder, that casts an arcane energy wave attack. Cytorak's Crimson Girdle, that binds the enemy with magical chains. Ragador 7 Rings, that deploys a circular magic circle to defend against attacks. Your progress is rapid, beyond the imagination of Mordo and others. In addition, the mana in your body grows very quickly. 4th month. Mordo teaches you the actual combat of magic and shows you his magic weapon, a scepter, which he calls the Life Court Scepter. You understand, this of course cannot really come from the Court of Life. You ask the other party when you can have the magic weapon, and the other party says it depends on the chance. You express that you want to try the other party's magic weapon. Mordo said with a smile, "You can't use his magic weapon. The magic weapon has already chosen him, and other people can't use it. You took over the magic weapon. You were born with the ability to crack the ban, and you successfully cracked the magic weapon. It belongs to you." Seeing that you successfully used the scepter magic tool, Mo Du was stunned. He didn't expect the magic tool to be able to change hands in the middle. Obviously he was the first, and Mo Du was autistic. You have successfully learned a new magic, teleportation array. You can use magic to teleport yourself to any place. In addition to learning magic, you will teleport yourself back to New York City and use the pain training method to exercise physical strength. 5th month. Although you studied magic diligently, you did not give up on building your body. 5 months later, you successfully raised 30 tons of ultimate strength, and the total value of ultimate strength was 537 tons. You have successfully learned astral projection, and you can successfully separate the spiritual body. In this state, Roar does not need to suck, eat or sleep, and is not affected by physical laws, and can penetrate objects and become invisible. At the same time, you still use astral projection to further exercise your spiritual power. You know, when the spiritual power becomes stronger, your telepathy will have new changes. Your mana builds up further. During this time, he learned Energy Wave, Classic Red Rope Attack, Protective Shield, Teleportation Array, and Soul Astral. Especially the teleportation formation. Li Shu's eyes lit up when he saw this ability. This is so convenient. 8th month. During this time, you studied hard and mastered a lot of magic, and you successfully learned the soul-killing spell, Destroyer spell, from Caecilius. At this time, Ancient One finds you and asks if you want to be the future Sorcerer Supreme. Hearing Ancient One's words, you were stunned. You didn't expect that the other party would say that. Becoming a Sorcerer Supreme is something you've never had, knowing you're not that great after all. You immediately ask each other what you will get. Ancient One said, you will inherit her mantle, learn all her spells, and inherit all her magical tools, and inherit her relationship with various Mephistos, and you will be able to borrow powerful powers from various powerful Mephistos. You will be able to have the power to protect the earth in the shortest possible time. Hearing this, your eyes lit up, and you couldn't help but ask if the Eye of Agamotto was included. After all, Eye of Agamotto is powerful, you can see it in your eyes, you can release time magic through it, and Strange once used time magic to trap Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension. Ancient One nodded. As for borrowing great power from various Mephistos, you don't care. Because the power you want comes from yourself, not from others. After all, borrowed power comes at a price. Physical disability, illness, loss of soul, lover, affection, etc. are the price of borrowing strength. That's why you're cultivating your own mana, because you don't want to use Beelzebub's power, you want to tap your own power. The ascetic monks of Kamar Taj who cut off their hands and feet are the price of the Ancient One's borrowing of magic power, but it was passed on to these people, definitely, these ascetic monks were voluntary. The more cost of Ancient One's borrowing was passed on to Dormammu by her. You immediately ask the other person what it takes to become the Sorcerer Supreme. Ancient One said that you need to take up the responsibility of protecting the world and live and die with it. Definitely, this needs to sign a contract with Wei Shandy to protect the earth, and live and die with the earth. If you violate the contract, the soul will live in hell forever. You thought that you only needed a verbal promise, but you didn't expect to sign a magic contract, but directly connect with Emperor Weishan. Who is Wei Shandy? The Trinity is comparable to the existence of God, the patron saint behind the earth. Galactus came with a hammer. Signing a contract with this person is basically impossible if you want to default. In this regard, you directly stated that you do not want to be Sorcerer Supreme. After all, you are just here to learn magic, not to sell yourself. After hearing this, Ancient One nodded slightly and didn't say anything more. But in the end, Ancient One still expressed that it is willing to teach you more things, and only hope that you can take action when the world is in trouble. The rest of the conversation between you and the Ancient One did not know the content, but they heard from the Ancient One later that they wanted everyone to teach you more magic knowledge. Therefore, the rest of Kamar Taj generally believe that Ancient One regards you as her successor and trains you as the future Sorcerer Supreme. So people respect you more and more, as if you were the future Sorcerer Supreme. You start to learn more magic. Li Shu was also stunned when he saw Ancient One asking himself to be the Sorcerer Supreme. He really didn't expect the other party to ask this question. When Li Shu saw the back, he really had no idea at all. Although he is willing to take action when the earth is in trouble, the premise is that it will not threaten his own safety. If it will threaten his own safety, he can only run away to save his life. When Li Shu said in the simulation that using magic, there will be a price, he did not expect it. Not to use, but to borrow. Whether the Ancient One, or the Strange or other magicians, basically borrow power from various Mephistos. From here, Li Shu finally understood why Chikai had cultivated for such a short period of time and began to explode with amazing strength. It turned out to be a loan from the boss. Weishandi, Dormammu, Ragardor, etc., are all bigwigs in the magic world. Leveraging with these people, it is natural to be able to burst into a powerful force. But at the cost, that's hard to imagine. It's a little better than Emperor Weishan, after all, it's just doing evil things, and there's basically no problem. But the problem is, most of Weishandi's magic is defensive. Including the technique of Emperor Weishan, the records are all defensive magic. In addition, it was the first time he knew that the ascetic monks in Kamar Taj were disabled because they shared the price with the Ancient One. Cultivating mana by oneself will indeed be much slower than borrowing it. But for Li Shu, that's not a problem. After all, he can continue to simulate and accumulate mana. 9th month. During this period of time, you are still training your body hard, and your physical strength is steadily rising. You have successfully raised 48 tons of ultimate strength, and the total ultimate strength has reached 585 tons. In addition, your super ability has also been improved. Your flight speed is faster, you have successfully improved from Mach 4 to Mach 5. Li Shu was very satisfied to see that his physical ability was also improving steadily. 13th month. You have successfully learned magic, dimensional mirroring. You can freely enter the mirror world, and you can also have a certain ability to manipulate the mirror world. Now, you have basically mastered most of the basic magic, and you are already a qualified magician. You are trying to learn spiritual barrier, which can block psychic attacks. For you, you learn magic more to resist the strange magic ability of others, such as mental attack. Your previous ability is basically physical, and there are not many defensive means for spiritual aspects. It's just that this magic is more difficult than you think. At the same time, you continue to work hard on your mana. He finally learned dimensional mirror image. This magic she has been eyeing for a long time. After all, pulling people into the mirror world, non-magic people can't resist this strange magic method. If someone used this magic on him before, no matter how powerful he was and how hot his thermal vision was, it would be completely useless. After all, if you are pulled into the mirror world, there is no corresponding means, you can't get out at all, and you are simply trapped in it. This is also the reason why he was very afraid of magician before, because you don't know whether the other party will master similar strange magic. Some magic, for the pure warrior he used to be, is a means of rogue and incomprehensible. Now that he has learned this magic, he will be able to resist the same means. In addition, the mental barrier he is learning is the same. Simple warriors can't withstand mental attacks, even mind control. Superman has been controlled by magician, let alone ordinary warriors. This is also the reason why he will choose to simulate the practice of magic this time. As the saying goes, only magic can defeat magic. Month 15. You left Kamar Taj and went to the old mountain town to find Mandarin. You successfully found Mandarin, killed him, and got the 10 commandments. Then you use the soul destruction curse to erase the remnants of the 10 precepts, so you successfully possess the 10 precepts. Their abilities are remodeling, can change the structure of matter from the atomic level, release toxic gases, and change the shape of objects. Ring domination, can produce electromagnetic light and impact. Ring stun, it can make the air flow quickly, generate vortex, and can attack and defend. Ring ghost, it can make people have the ability to cut off the connection between molecules and atoms, and make hard objects break. Ringbringer, creates a dark area. Ring elf, controls electricity and generates electromagnetic fields. Incandescence, gives the ability to control fire. Ring lightning, also has the ability to control electromagnetism. Ring liar, mind control ability, can control the thoughts and behavior of others. Ring zero, releases frozen light, freezing items. The 10 commandments give you more ability, but the 10 commandments are not without their shortcomings. Each ring can only use the ability for 20 minutes, and then needs to be recharged before it can be used. But for you, 20 minutes is enough. After all, fighting for life and death only takes a few minutes or even 10 minutes. 20 minutes is enough to assist you in breaking out the corresponding ultimate move at the critical moment. Moreover, you can strengthen them in the future, extend their use time, and even make these abilities your own abilities through experiments. The news that you killed Mandarin was quickly passed back to Kamar Taj. People agreed with you for killing Mandarin, the wicked man, and at the same time, they respected you more and more. After you come back, you can clearly feel that all the magicians have changed their attitude towards you. You who know the reason will not be able to laugh or cry. After all, you don't really want to get rid of evil, but simply want to get the 10 precepts. This time you killed Mandarin, and was targeted by Caecilius again, but this time, the other party wanted to kill you. Because you keep killing people who supply him, and at the same time, he also hears that you may be the future Sorcerer Supreme, so he wants to get rid of you. Li Shu smiled when he saw that he finally got back the 10 rings, which had no side effects. Because this means that when the simulation ends, he can also get the 10 commandments without side effects. In addition, he was able to tame the extraordinary dragon. Seeing Caecilius staring at him, the corners of Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly. He was less afraid of the Caecilius now. If the other party comes, he will let the other party know what is the terror of magic and physical cultivation. As long as the opponent's magic can't restrain him, then, for Caecilius and the group of crispy skins, he will be killed. 16th month. You continue to practice hard, and your mana is steadily improving. Although it is not comparable to other magicians who borrow power, the mana is infinite, but it is enough for you to cast spells. At the same time, you are eyeing the holy place in New York City, because there is a powerful magic weapon, suspended cloak, in it. This is a strange magic weapon in the future, but you want to get it in your hand first. As the saying goes, magic tools have spirit, choose the master and live. Once the magic weapon chooses you, then others cannot interfere. You told Mordo that you wanted to visit Holy Place in New York City. Mordo said he will take you there next month.